cases which you will go through, case-based kind of study. That may be of 50 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages. I still remember we'll take a couple of hours to read the gist of it and prepare ourselves the notes. Nowadays, you can use very well these notebook LMs or any of these tools. It will also give summary, but the professors, I still remember when I'm talking to some of those professors, they will still missing the nitty-gritties of it. Sometimes it's not the only summary. Summary means abstract you can read and then you will get the K. But there are minute details which the notebook LM may not be able to capture, right? That's where the professor adds value by asking the right set of questions. So I'm not saying you don't use any of such tools in your research or DBA, but that should not create, or maybe that should not come on your way of your creative thinking or your interpretation ability. Okay, so that is the second part. Then summative cases means yes, you are giving a lot of insights in terms of multiple documents. You want to summarize the activity from there. Maybe that the different use cases will come both the sides. You are giving some clue in case of creative or generative. You are giving some clues, maybe keywords you are asking to produce, maybe a story or a poem. In case of summative, maybe you are doing a reverse activity. So you are getting a lot of information and then you are trying to make it, okay, summarization of that, right? So there you can see the difference. There are a lot of such use cases which we will be able to talk further as well. And it can produce that I have already talked about. And GenAI operates by learning patterns and structures from large, or I will say huge data sets and using that knowledge to produce new content. So that means what? It's not like randomly, it has not been trained on specific data points and all. Now you are asking newly, it can't be creative and gen just create something which is really acceptable. No, it needs to have some kind of a knowledge previously in that particular domain, in that particular situation. Then it can be creative to produce the new content because it can vary the distribution. If it doesn't understand the distribution itself, maybe it can generate without saying no, but that may be hallucination. So this is what we are talking about at a high level, what Gen AI means for us. And then if I continue further on that, it's a, yeah, if there is something interesting, I will repeat that. Otherwise, mostly, yeah, it is a part of machine learning and then mimic the characters. Yeah, it is being trained on. That's nothing new there. Now, what I'm trying to introduce here is in terms of the terminology, right? We keep using GPT, generative pre-trained models, transformer models, actually speaking. Okay, so the foundational models, we are using the terminology of foundation models, and I'll try to justify why. Right? Even in your deep learning, you do have the model, right? I'm calling them as foundational models. Okay, it is my duty to demystify. So I'm sure if you heard of these CNN or ImageNet Challenge winners, what comes to your mind as the network architectures in a deep learning network architectures? From your deep learning, I'm not talking about anything on Gen AI. What are the standard networks which comes to your mind?
AlexNet, VGG.
Exactly. LXNet, VGG, InceptionNet, ResNet, MobileNet, right? So
Yeah.
there are so many things which you have learned there, and we are going to use those in multiple domains. I used it in healthcare. I used it as a starting point in telecom, right? I'm sure some of you might be using in different domains. There, I'm not calling them as foundational models, but it's more like a pre-trained models I'm calling. But here also, I'm calling it as a pre-trained models only Gen AI. Then what is the difference actually? One difference is it's more on the transfer learning as a terminology. Here, the foundational models also I can try to use as a pre-trained model. Definitely, I'm using it, but I'm not immediately jumping to retrain it or do a transfer learning compared to the deep learning models. Why? The traditional deep learning models, which you talk at CNN and all, they're not very humongous. Maybe 50 layers, 100 layers. That itself is very humongous couple of years ago, to be frank, right? Maybe if I recollect my journey out of 100 plus use cases, what I have been involved with, the complex network what I have worked with is a 381 or 51, maybe 381. 381 layer network for some brain segmentation. But now with the advances, maybe at the same level of accuracy I can achieve maybe with 100 layers itself, right? That's not the fun, how many layers you add. But the point is, even when we talk about millions of parameter is actually a humongous task couple of years ago. I'm not talking about 30 years, 40 years ago. I'm talking about only even 5 years ago, even 6, 7 years ago. Now, when we go in the last 3, 4 years, we are talking about billions of parameters. Now we are talking about trillions of parameter, right? So even though they are coming as pre-trained models, when you say apple to apple comparison, in case of deep learning, yes, you do have these CNN models or maybe some kind of text-based models as well, but they are all not at a billions and trillions of parameters. Maybe some few thousands, or maybe a few millions to start with, right? Which is good enough for us to see in the transfer learning approaches. How do you retrain it? Which part to freeze? Which part to retrain? That's the kind of approach which you have been trained with. Okay. So if I take a pause, am I making sense when I'm talking about transfer learning? You are going to freeze some weights. You are going to do either upper layers or lower layers. Is it clear in your uh, mind, or do we need to refresh anything from that knowledge?
This is similar to what we used to do with VGG also, right?
Exactly. That
Mhm.
I'm still talking on deep learning. I'm not talking here yet. I'm just refreshing your memory in terms of how you use those deep learning models for the transfer learning. Those 2 points are clear to you?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I can see Murugeshan, your hand is up.
Yes, Professor. Yes, Professor. If you are using some technical words, maybe you can give us simple recap. Then it is also for good for us to recap what we have learned in the deep learning. So if you don't mind that, yeah,
Sure, sure, no problem. So
yeah.
at least the
Thank you.
terminology you heard, right? Transfer learning,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
VGG and all
yeah,
you
yeah.
heard. So then
That
what is relevant for us here? I am going to use that as an analogy. For instance, if you see here, I already talked about in terms of where are this? Yeah, ImageNet for a pre-trained model. So I'm exactly talking on that. Only difference is in case of transfer learning, there is actually some four quadrant kind of matrix. I'm not sure whether someone covered that or not. Let me try to bring it for you. So I'm just building on top of your vision models as an example. So the four quadrants are, one is the similarity, whether it is low or high. It is more like, let's say, low or high. The data similarity, I mean. And other one is data availability. Data availability, that also low and high. When you see these four quadrants, you may be working in different domains, and then you have everybody has access to these ImageNet pre-trained models, whether it is VGG, all that, right? So ResNet and all. Now, whether you want to freeze the initial layers, let's say there is a ResNet 50 layer network, right? So that one I can freeze. Anyway, transfer learning point of view, I can keep everything the same, and only I will try to vary the last one. Maybe ImageNet requires 1,000 classes. Maybe I have 10 classes for my particular problem statement. That anyway we will change. We can keep rest of them everything as is. That's the best case. But if you see that I can do only when the data similarity is high. What does that mean? If the data similarity is high, and data availability is low, I am trying to play with the, I will say, towards the right side. That is, we call it as low end and high end layers. So, what is the best terminology I can use? Near to the output layer, we are going to play with. Okay. And I'll try to justify why also. First, just follow if I am able to convince you. Otherwise, I'll double click again and next level of why. If the data similarity is low, that means what? The data what ImageNet is being trained with, and now what I'm trying to do with the data similarity is low. Okay, and your what you call the data availability is also low. That means unless you have available data, it is not easy for you to freeze this, right? So what does that mean is I'm trying to talk about, okay, you are playing with if the multiple options what we have. In one place, I'm trying to play with only output layers. In another case, if the data similarity is low in the data availability is high, I'm going to play with input layers. Input layers means towards them because the similarity is not there. So initial layers, I want to get the features extracted. If the data similarity is high and data availability is also high, that depends on your, you can start with output layer, or you need to go with even a middle layer level as well. But whereas if the similarity is not there much, and then even data availability is also not there much, then maybe you can see these are initial starting points what you have as the initial weights, and then start doing the retraining part, right? So, and then maybe you use the similarity, the synthetic data generation, and slowly you can move it. And this is more easy problem. How do we move from here to here? Okay. So let me take a pause. Is it making sense in terms of how we are able to do the transfer learning? This is what a recap only. It's not like completely new what I'm talking about, but I just try to give a structure. So when to use the entire retraining, when to use output thing, when to use the input thing. Are you able to relate that? Yeah, perfect. So now why I'm talking about all this is in case of the LLMs, because just like in the previous slide you have seen, it is humongous data we do have, and then we are able to get hundreds of these foundation models. The reason I'm saying foundational models is maybe these are general knowledge what they have, may not have specific knowledge of the domain. Even you may argue, even in the ImageNet also it is very general data. How can I get it into healthcare? But the only difference is here, based on this quadrant, I can start with complete retraining, or I can try to freeze either input or output based on the similarity and availability. That flexibility is there because my compute power, what I have, is good enough to do any of this actually. Or just take this in the worst case, in the best case, you talk about just I'll change the last layer and then do it. In the worst case, you are trying to do a complete retraining, which is not possible here because even to do a complete retraining, you need the huge amount of data, huge compute, and it is not worth of it. That's where we are going into the questions in terms of we are calling that general availability of the trained data on exorbitant data and compute, and I'm trying to justify it maybe in the next session in terms of why I'm saying we need a year to do it. You need millions of dollars to do that. Right now, you may not be able to accept exactly, but that's okay. But based on the knowledge what we have, yes, it is a everybody. Even in you, we are all representing different organizations. May not be representing now though, but we are working in different organizations, right? Even if your CEO asks, okay, let's build one model for our domain. I'll give you the data, I'll give you the fund and all that. First of all, you should be in a position to tell them how long it is going to take, right? What is the effort required? It's not like readily the hardware is available. It's not like readily the data is available, and you are just dumping some millions of dollars and it's not going to work within few weeks. No, it's going to have a lot of dependencies. That's where we are talking about we are not jumping to the retraining kind of a mechanism, at least in the near future, right? We need to exhaust all the other options in terms of the fine tuning. That's where you keep hearing, especially the foundational models, because I'm not ready to do the retraining now immediately. Instead, I'm trying to do some kind of a zero shot or maybe some kind of a prompt engineering to start with, and then RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Even if it is not working, then I go with the PEFT, parameter efficient fine tuning. That means some peripheral weights I want to touch, and then you are going to have the fine tuning. So these are all, some people argue all of these are some kind of a fine tuning without touching the original weights. That's the kind of activities we do in these foundational models. If that exhausts and still we are not happy with the performance or the latency or the cost point of view, then we will go into the retraining. I'm not saying it is not possible at all, but before you need to think of retraining, you need to exhaust all these possibilities. That's what the keywords I'm trying to use here. The zero shot, one shot, that means you are giving some examples, one shot, few shots, okay? Or you can talk about the fine tuning. Okay, so these are the things which will double click it. But in the beginning of it, I'm trying to give you a bigger scenario so that you are all follow and keep your mental map where, yes, these are models which are trained on humongous data. We are calling it as foundation model. And I do have a picture on how it works. Then I'll take a pause for you whether you are able to understand these things. So this will justify why we are calling them as foundational models. And we need to give information to let's say fine tune to our own domain, our own enterprise, without retraining as well. So that's the kind of approach we are trying to do it, at least in last few years. What will happen? Maybe some transformer 2.0, some other new mechanism will come. We don't require to fine tune. Retraining also I can do efficiently. Yeah, then happy. We'll be able to do retrain just like you have done the transfer learning. As we speak now, there are no proven methodologies which is cost effective, which can generate better results of the retraining. That's the reason we are talking about these are via paths, which may sustain for a couple of years. 5 years from now, I may not be able to speak exactly the same way what we are doing. We'll get better learning mechanisms. That time we will wonder what other things to do it. At least for we have enough problems to solve for next few years. Okay. So before take a pause, if you see, yes, we are building an empty brain to start with. That means the structure and all that we are talking. Then lot of general data we are trying to push, then we are releasing it. That's what we are calling it as foundational models. They are all your GPTs, Grooks, Gemini, these are all the ones. Then we can fine tune to our field. Nowadays, you start seeing in your Azure or AWS and all, not just only specific general GPTs, some specific GPTs also started coming, at least from last 1 year. Maybe something for this coding or something for medical, something for telecom. Some of them may be costlier than the versional one, or versional in the sense the general ones, but we will see it. At the end, we use the prompt or RAG or PFT in a systematic way to solve our problems. Okay. That's where, because it can't solve directly your enterprise problems, I'm still calling it as a foundational models. But this is the basis for us without retraining to do the fine tuning, start with the prompting, drag, and do some kind of variety of fine tuning. Still, you will be able to cost effectively get your solution. So that's where we are calling Gen AI foundational models, all these LLMs. Let me take a pause before we go to the subtopic. Is it making sense what I'm talking so far?
Maybe Professor, here we are talking about this fine tune. You're mentioning that you in the maybe we can take this bird as the example. So if you have a 5 layers, just example, like so if we keep this 3 layers of freezing, and we if I want to try my own model, then I will add only the new layer, and I add this new layer. This is what I mean, like fine tune.
That is called partial retraining. It's not like complete retraining.
Mm-hmm.
Fine tuning need not go to that level as well. Only there is also a third step, I will say. First step in, let's say, in the prompt engineering, in the RAG, if you heard of the names, maybe details I'll cover anyway. There, I'm not touching the original model at all. I'm just touching, I'm not touching even one layer, one weight also. Still, I'm able to get almost 60-70% of the problems by using the right prompts, by using the right context. I'm able to solve it.
Got it.
First, you need to exhaust those points. Then you think of, okay, some fine tuning, that is parameter efficient, few weights I'm adding, or some partial fine tuning, or towards the end, if I'm doing complete weights change, then it is anyway retraining. That is the last option. Okay, perfect. Anything else? Are we good? I'm just checking in the chat if there are any questions. I'm not seeing any. Okay. So as of now, I'm clarifying 4 or 5 terminology in the last few minutes. What is Gen AI? Then what is retraining? What is fine tuning? And then what is foundational model? And how you will be able to prepare it. By default, foundation models are not going to give me the enterprise level information. But still, we do have methods like these prompts, context, RAG, before you think of fine tuning and retraining. So that's the summary for last few minutes, whatever, maybe 20-30 minutes what we have. If you are good so far, then let me slowly go into how the investments are flowing around, especially maybe I am able to give you whatever the latest I can get. It is not as latest as 2026, but you can see the trend, how things are happening. I do have 2-3 slides covering different aspects. And I'll try to give my reading of it. And then because you are all business leaders, what is your view also? You feel free to share it. Then when you start use cases, why I'm starting with this? And I'm talking about, first information is useful because you need to understand what Gen AI is all about, what are different methods to use it. That's okay. But then I can directly jump into these other applications and use cases. But before that, I'm covering 2 points: how the investments are happening, how the trend is changing. Second thing is what is the limitations of the Gen AI. Why these things are will be helpful is mainly to see or not to see Gen AI as a hammer for all your problems. You need to understand how the outside market looks like, what are the problems they are solving. Then second, you want to see especially what are the limitations of these, so that before identifying this is the use case for you, you will be able to do a good job. Yes, this is the right use case, keeping your limitations, keeping your expectations based on the matching of that. So the first one here is the trend, whatever the last 4 or 5 years, what we are talking about is maybe it is the killer application started in 2012, but the initial GPTs and all, maybe Gen AI as a term, it is not that popular during the COVID time, I think 2019, but initial investments are there. So investments also, if you see here, the investments in the last few years, especially the 2024 and all, if you see the color coding, it is mostly in the Gen AI model. That's where the majority of the people have dumped their models in the last 1 to 23, 24 time period. You can see there are hundreds, if not thousands, right? Popular models only I'm talking about. Otherwise, there may be thousands of the small LLMs, whether it is open source, whether it is closed source, there is API based, there are multiple varieties, but you have that. Other than that, you do have a platform components, and then apps also, you can see there is an increase in the trend. Okay, and the deal counts also, it is steadily increasing and then reaching a plateau after a few years. Okay. So infrastructure wise, maybe suddenly if you talk about this now, infrastructure, yes, in US, these many investments are happening and all, maybe the graph may slightly change now. They are talking about more of infrastructure as well. And Gen AI models, I will see down the line. My prediction is it may not have this much of bigger pie. It is more than almost like 60-70% of it compared to all this, right? Now, I don't think it will be in that direction. My betting is there will be two classes of investments. Some people specifically investing in their own domain within their enterprise, right? That investments will increase. But the general investments, only few people will try to push, whether it is the OpenAI, whether it is Musk doing his Grok or Gemini. Only few companies can go at the level of trillions of parameters playing with that. Every small application doesn't require it. That's where my betting in terms of maybe slowly going to SLM kind of a mode as well. Okay. So if feel free to stop me at any slide, but otherwise I'll just cover the part and then take a pause. Yeah, when
Professor,
you have a
when you
question,
use the word
yes,
deals,
yeah,
when you
deals.
use the word deals, what deal are these? Is it mergers and acquisition, or is
Ah,
it
not really. So those
projects?
kind of projects, you can see that as major projects point of it. How many deals means, or predictions from this one. But it is more like ventures, right? So the deal means I can try to give it to you where from VC's point of it, what kind of deals means. So they are closing these many projects, or maybe the better way to look at is what these many acquisitions. The general deal kind of a definition only here. It may come covering those 2 3 aspects, but others also can add.
Okay, let's say there is this startup Y Combinator
Yes,
in San Francisco.
yes.
So where in this year 2026, where are they these startups happening? Infrastructure, Gen AI models, platform, Gen
Ah,
AI apps?
ah. So there we can specifically, if they publish anything publicly, we can see it parallelly also. But I'll give you my intuition, not just only from Y Combinator. So Gen AI models is slowly coming down, especially in specific areas like US, the infrastructure, because infrastructure everybody cannot do, right? Only it requires billions of dollars. Only few big shots are only able to do. Startups will not be able to do that, unfortunately. But the platforms and apps are increasing is my view from, especially from startups. But if you're talking about the big giants, the investments graph may slowly change of these Nvidias of the world. Do you agree with me? Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Yes.
Yes, Professor. So in terms of definition, I just would like to make sure I understand correctly. So when we talk about most of us, we will be able to not most of us, but what we're doing right now, like prompts engineering and RAG,
Mhm.
that is called fine tuning, right?
Yes.
And you and for in this slide, infrastructures means like hardware, like NVIDIA,
Mhm.
Samsung, whatever, the chips thingy.
Mhm.
And then Gen AI models will relate to like GPTs, Llama,
Yeah.
one of the foundational models that somehow they would do some retrain or they build their own models, and that's what is, right?
You are right.
Gen AI models.
Yes.
Yes. And then platform would be like Copilot because they use GPT, right?
So platform means it may be some internal ones also from a startup. It's more like you are trying to use those platforms so that you can build multiple applications, right? That's kind of frameworks or platforms is the general thing.
Yeah, so you use foundational models or maybe models, Gen AI models to build platform. And then
Yes.
from that platform, you able to build apps. Yeah.
Agreed that based on that, we are trying to build the solutions. Yes. Even the apps also comes under that. Yeah.
So for example, in here, Gen AI models would be like the Gemini, and then Gen AI apps would be like notebook LMs.
Yes. Specific apps, what they are developing. Yes. You are right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Prince.
So my question is, for example, a financial organization, if they want to acquire a model, so are they going to acquire it as a foundational model or a pre-trained model, which can help them to cater the different business problems that comes into executing the financial business?
Okay.
So, what kind of strategies should be should be here so that we can acquire a particular model?
Right. So good point. So here I think you use two terms, pre-trained models, foundational model. I am saying the pre-trained models in the world of Gen AI, we are calling it as foundational models only. Okay. So only thing is they are not specifically trained on specific domain, but it has a general knowledge of it. And instead of starting from scratch, that will be our why I'm calling it as foundational, because that will be our foundation to start with. And then maybe I'll give you some context or maybe prompt engineering, RAG and all to start with in your case of financial thing, and then trying to get our required use cases to fulfill. So that's the idea. That's the first question. I mean, clarification on the first point. Then second one, when you say what kind of strategy means here, as we speak in 2026, right? We do have a lot of models available for us, hundreds and even thousands of models, whether it's a paid, open source and all. In case of financial models, you need to see your strategy, whether you are trying to bet on your own proprietary IP, where you want to build from scratch, or maybe mostly build from scratch is not an option, but build locally, maybe on top of a Llama or Falcon, some open source model is one strategic decision you need to make. Second thing is maybe no, I will have a tie-up with any of these people so that they will not train on any of my data and they will be able to secure the data, those governance policies they will be agreeing to me. Then I will do. That is a very important strategic decision. Accordingly, you need to choose what kind of foundational model you will be able to latch on.
Okay, perfect. And one more thing, because acquiring such models, it's very intensive
Correct.
work. So because in the recent past we have seen, especially in the development mode, people have exhausted the tokens that we have.
Yes.
And in that case, I feel the small scale organizations, they cannot afford it. Do you think a kind of trend when the cost of acquiring such models will be going to get down? Because currently it's very expensive affair, and not all small scale companies can acquire it.
When you say acquiring, what does that mean?
So utilizing these models, because every month subscription, it actually based on the tokens. So
Exactly.
right?
Mm.
So in that case, for example, a small scale application, a small scale company
Mhm.
requires a kind of model, for example, cloud model,
Yes.
and monthly subscription is very expensive for it.
Yes.
And in that case, do you think in future such kind of cost effectiveness will come into this industry so that mid scale or small scale companies can also acquire it? Because currently it is bringing a very unfair competition where two companies are in the same domain, but one is not very much in terms of having a good amount of money to invest into it,
Mm.
but a
Mm.
large scale company can definitely go and get it. So in
Definitely.
that case, monopoly can come. So
Yeah.
that's something I
That's
think.
already happening in terms of these companies. But only thing is, there will be innovation, just like DeepSeek. They suddenly disrupted thing, right? We don't require the maybe 1/10 of the cost is good enough because if you go with these sovereign models, what is going to happen is, have you heard the term sovereign models? We are not
Yes.
going to compete. So if I yesterday I used the term AI diffusion from other leaders. I have not coined the term though. So one point is we can't compete with the infrastructure what the Western world has. Let's agree to that, right? Because we are representing different countries here. I'm seeing people from Bangladesh, Vietnam, India, UAE. UAE may be affordable to if they want to invest, right? But whether that is the right approach, okay. So we don't require to be in that competition of build the model, but instead you bet on your local treasure what you have, right? So the data may not be trillion parameter, doesn't matter, as long as your problem is solved efficiently in your enterprise setup. That's good enough. You don't bother whether it's a million parameter or a billion parameter or a trillion. We don't require. So keeping that, the trend is going towards building your sovereign models. So what does it mean? Some investments or governments are doing locally with the support and the data, local data, making it accessible. So that cultural aspects come into picture, and then your local priorities will take into picture from your enterprise AI point of view. So the betting there is you don't require to compete with this cloud or infrastructure and all that. Let them compete in other space. But only thing is for your specific problems, you can bet on the sovereign models which are available in a much cheaper price for you. At the same time, the people are trying. If you are doing a right set of context engineering, right kind of fine tuning steps, we don't require billions, maybe 70 billion parameter of Llama or even Falcon or Mistral. Those are good enough for you to have complete control within your organization. You are not building an SLM yet. SLM will take time and all that. It's not immediate, but you can start thinking in a local way, and still you are not out of competition. So you don't require to think only the ones who have the access to these GPUs at the level of West is going to win the race. Need not be.
So alternatively,
Thank you.
just to add to
Okay. Yeah.
Prince's question, would it be a fair assumption to assume that the cost advantage that we are offered presently, as far as token economics are concerned, are actually P funded as cost of customer acquisition? Because there are all these
Yeah, yeah,
platforms that are trying
definitely.
to acquire customers, and
Exactly.
tokens are
They are not,
effectively close to
yeah,
free right now.
yeah, they are not making money. OpenAI also is not like a profitable company as we speak now, right? But the only thing is, yes, making sure the people are hooked to them and all. But what will happen if suddenly some Quen or DeepSeek, some other version comes at 1/100th of the cost? Even now, they are giving enough challenge. Only thing is, some people may trust, some people may not trust. That's again geopolitics. I don't want to comment on that. So purely, if you are talking from technical perspective, yes, there may be more local models for UAE, local models for India, local models for specific countries, very much possible. And maybe the dominance of those so-called powerful trillion parameters one, we may not require. So let it compete for a general acquisition, just like Google has the general information. Maybe they give competition to that. But for enterprise setup, we can go with this. So some of these will continue the discussion even in the next sessions, but it's a good points. Okay.
Professor, just 2 points if I could.
Yeah, please.
On Prince's comments, to me it sounds like investing small companies now need to carry a cost line item for access to this data and these systems to be able to continue to grow their businesses. So um, this will become another cost line item that companies need to manage and budget for. And then but if you go back to the investment in infrastructure,
I'm going back there.
um,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, just when you look at the numbers for infrastructure in 2024, they're quite low.
Yes.
When I think about my comment yesterday and the number of data centers that are being built just in the US,
Yeah.
it's it's hyperscale tech giants. I think there's a
Mhm.
quick Google search, but I know from how many of these sites my company is working on in the construction aspects of it that it's they're raising 700 billion
Exactly.
in the
So it will be
s-
is much beyond what we are talking. But it may not be 1 year. But yeah, overall investments, I completely agree with you. Couple of over the next few years.
in 2024, just the infrastructure alone, looking at the graph is quite low here. When you look at 700 billion in just the US,
Mm.
that's
Yeah,
huge
definitely.
amount of money.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
And this is just the trend, and that's where I was talking about how this is going to change in a multifolded way, right? So if you go further on that, in terms of those two more slides, just to give you the perspective, then I will go to the limitations. So here, Gen AI becoming okay 1.3 trillion market by next 5 years. Then a large majority of organizations have deployed less than one third of their experiments. So one is experimenting because it's in hype. Now the same way will Gen AI goes to agentic AI, even less number of productions as we speak now. So, but if you see here, the organizations which are doing maybe the around 30% of the people, right? So Gen AI experiments move to production is very less in terms of the one third is on average, right? But why? The concerns are mostly I think yesterday even when we were asking, right, that option is in the similar lines where accuracy and quality, that is robustness, then trust factors, the skills, whether we are ready yet, the enterprises may not be ready yet. And the last one is job safe. Some people are possessive about their way of working, and then maybe they can hold off for some more time to hold, okay, not to be taken over that particular activity by this Gen AI. Another way to look at that is what kind of use cases. I'm just telling you as this is as a test point. Maybe 3 years ago, somebody predicted from IDC, in next 3 years, this is going to be like this, right? So in next 18 months or whatever the name, right? So where AI could make most impact. And I'm trying to validate it. I'm not giving a prediction here, but I'm trying to validate how things are. Maybe do you agree these kind of use cases primarily we are doing some kind of software development and design, all you are seeing cloud codes of the world or copilots, then product development and design, maybe Lovable, Figmas. Then customer engagement, we do have applications, marketing, the people are there here as well. Then sales, supply chain. So they are trying to give some percentage, but more or less we are in that level to give what the market is looking for. But the real challenge, as we are summarizing yesterday, right? I'm giving you a few points, and we discussed that point. Again, the trust factor, robustness, then localized or personalization thing, cost factors, scalability, sustainability. These are the points comes into picture to increase the penetration of it. Now, I'm not stopping at Gen AI. Even the same things, if you penetrate further to the agentic AI, we want more of production level experimentation from the experience what we have. We don't want these many POCs, right? We need to go systematically. Yes, we need to do the POC, see what the things are happening, the proof of concepts, then go for pilots, MVP, all that process will follow. But the success rate should be more. It's not like we are trying to prove the technology. Okay, there are enough experiments to prove this technology can work in these scenarios. Can it work in your scenario is the question there. How fast we can move from this to the prediction. This is where we are talking about from this. So I agree with your points, what Leon was talking about. So I given some perspectives of what we have done in the last few years. But going forward, just to comment, yes, there is a lot of infrastructure activities. Then there are a lot of importance on the governance aspects. Then platforms, when you talk about, yes, there are a lot of guardrails, observability. These are all coming as a platform components as well. Then there is an importance of the sovereign models before SLMs. I'll see that trend going in a bigger way. So those are the things which are happening now, and that will help me to go into the next subtopic before we bring these applications to talk on the limitations. Okay. So any further comments on those investments, how you are seeing in your own local markets or global markets? If you have further comments, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be able to cover few slides. I think two
Yeah,
slides on
Professor,
this. Yeah, go ahead.
on your previous slide,
Yes.
yeah, the previous one. Yeah, so is this 32% the software development and design application responsible for the job losses in the FANG
In the FANG
stocks?
companies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll say there are two angles to that, and anyway we are looking from business angle, right? So there is definitely some percentage of it attributed to the AI, but I won't say I don't know the internal percentage to talk about, but definitely it is not the only one. When I talk to the other leaders in these companies as well, they are seeing that as an opportunity. If you see the trends, anyway, there are ups and downs every year, and then there is a lot of surge during the COVID or just before this Gen AI penetrates. There are a lot of recruitment happened. Then people are doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs in US. That's what the trend a couple of years ago. Now the completely scenario changed. Even there are financial things. There are things on the business aspects. This just the AI aspect is only one part. My personal betting is it's not even one third of it, right? Rest of them is their strategy, their business thing. But why they are projecting to the media that yes, we are adopting this AI? That's why, because they want to lure the investors confidence that yeah, we are more AI first now than ever before, right? So that's why they want to project in a positive way. Not just only big companies. There are a lot of things are happening in small companies. Yeah, they want to be in the headlines to use, yes, I'm using AI effectively and then taking off these many people. So that is giving them, okay, increased confidence from the investors. Yes, you are becoming AI first. And then maybe a brand perception they are doing. But it is not just only those. That's not the only attribute. Internally, there are a lot of things which are happening. That's my reading.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Professor.
Thank you. So if you go further on that, in terms of these maybe 2 slides I have on the Gen AI limitations, what we are talking about here is you need to definitely have, in terms of quality and coherence, what I'm talking here is generative AI models like, let's say, GPT-3, GPT-4 can sometimes produce content that is factually incorrect. It may not be coherent as well. They generate text based on patterns in training data, and if the data contains errors and inconsistencies, the model may reproduce them. We can't find fault with that, but we need to be careful. At least in the enterprise AI setup, we need to be doubly checking those. They should not hallucinate, or we need to put a guardrail saying, if you're not confident, don't even give that answer. Right? That kind of luxury we should have in the enterprise AI setup. The lack of understanding, when I say these generative models typically don't have the understanding of the text they generate, right? It is, yeah, it is generating the content, but it doesn't mean that it is understanding what it is, right? So they can't answer questions that require deep understanding, common sensic reasoning. Maybe you may say, oh, there are some reasoning models. Why can't they do? Yes, they can do some extent, but it can't compete with our human brain or a common sense. It may be sometimes what will happen, it may be, you know some situations, it may be legally correct but not ethically, right? So when you talk about those things, it is very difficult with the present scheme of things to think at that level. A rule based thing, if you are talking about, yes, these are the guidelines, these are the rules, we have fed that information to the AI systems, yeah, it can follow that. But our common sensic reasoning will always dominates our decision making, right? Whether right or wrong, it's a different thing. So that is one aspect which you are talking about. Yes, Prince, I'll allow. Just let me complete the third part as well. The biases, it will definitely have the Gen AI, this, let's say, perpetuate the biases and the fairness aspects come into picture. That's where the question of sovereignty is also coming into picture. Because most of these Western companies are trying to even though they claim entire world data they have taken, definitely there will be a lot of inherent bias towards their data. Is it meeting my requirement? That's the kind of a question, right? So this can result in the generation of biased or discriminated content. Efforts are ongoing to reduce bias, but it remains a challenge for us. Whereas when it comes to the safety and privacy, in some cases, as you see, uh, generative AI can generate harmful, inappropriate content, then ensuring the safety and ethical use of AI generated text is significantly our concern, especially in applications like content moderation. Okay. So what does that mean is we are trying to see these from multiple angles, and within these constraints, what kind of use cases we need to bet on is what we are talking about. Okay. So before I go to the next slide, yeah, Prince, you have some question. Please go ahead.
Uh, Actually, I have seen the explainability of certain outcome.
Yeah.
That is also not with the generative AI, which I consider as a limitation. Because recently we had a case where we were trying to find out some insight out of some data, and the results that we got for our product, it's all completely different than what we were found by our analysis, which we had, which is already with us for so long. So the explainability is one cause, one area where I see that is also
Definitely.
biggest limitation.
Yes, explainability till deep learning, till LSTM or some models of RNN and LSTM, till that level also we are able to. But at the scale of billions of parameters, still it is becoming a challenge. But only thing they are able to address to some extent is, at least when you are giving a particular, let's say, summary point, you are giving a ground truth of that. That is not completely the explainability aspect, how it worked on, but at least giving a clue saying that it is not, I'm not trying to hallucinate, I got the information from here to some extent. But the research is on in terms of how we are able to get that in. I have hundreds of documents, why priority went to that, what kind of weights they are able to get it into that. That level of discussions are also will come. Just like we have very sophisticated models like SHAP, Lime, GradCam for your typical deep learning. Okay. Yeah, next win.
Hi, so there that with these on top of limitations, and I heard on a like sometimes we see on the market that one product maybe one person will advertise that, oh, this is the prompt that you should always put in, like this is that's to limit, I mean, the guardrails for the AI or AI agents. Is it really working, Professor?
Which is working, you are saying? I didn't get that
Like, what
point.
I mean is, because like a lot of people are saying that, oh, you should always put guardrails or
Yes,
you put rules in for the AI or AI agent,
definitely. Definitely.
so that they would not hallucinate or
Yeah.
would like remove bias. From your experience, if you put in guardrails like try to check all of the facts and eliminate all of the bias or whatever. How many
Yeah.
percentage is actually working from your
Yeah.
experience? Can we trust that even when we put in guardrails?
Guardrails. Yeah, that I will say that is not the only solution which we try, but that is one of the solutions which we tried. And because we can put, because sometimes what happens, the guardrails will come maybe towards the end also. There is different guardrails. They are policy level guardrail, they are input level guardrail, they are output level guardrails. You need to plan at a design level. It's not like entire content you generated and then you are giving the guard. That time, by the time you already burn your infrastructure, the time, effort, and all that, right? So that's why we do have at a different levels those guardrails. To answer your point, anyway, we will cover those details in upcoming sessions. It is trying to work out, but that's not the only way. Okay, we need to write from your prompt engineering what kind of restrictions you want to place. Then the guardrails also help on top of that to reduce these hallucinations or reduce some kind of these biases. But still, there are multiple methods we need to bet on, not just only one.
Thank you. And from what I understand is because the models, founders or the models engineers itself is also improving every day. So they
Exactly.
always try to put guardrails in too, right?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, Atif.
Hello, Professor. It's a non-technical question. I'm trying to conceptualize it, given my background in tax
Yes.
area. So if we implement a RAG and it can access the text database of a company, and is the data privacy compromised? By compromised, I shouldn't say compromised. Where is the data stored? Is it
Yeah.
stored locally still, or does it leave the local data?
So most of the case, I still not talked about that specific RAG and use case anyway. I'll cover in after two sessions. But to answer your point, usually when the enterprise data, nobody is ready to leave their premises or their private cloud, to be frank, right? Only thing they have restriction as well. Even if you are using anything, if you are doing locally, then you have complete control. That's one part. Even if you are trying to use these API-based models or maybe any of your closed source models, we have a clear agreement that you are not supposed to retrain in your future. Retrain will not happen immediately, right? It is going to be maybe for the next version of their release. There also enterprise data you are not supposed to use. Okay, so that's how to answer your point.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Jhansi Rani.
Yes, Professor, this is related to the question which already Kwan asking. So, for example, if I think this is also we got it from our case study in deep learning. So, if you use a RAG or maybe if I use RAG itself, it try to reduce at least this outdated data and also bias kind of limitations, is it? Or
that to some extent, because these are just think of it in your machine learning, deep learning, you heard of something like overfitting, right? Is there only one technique which can you tell me with your experience of last two modules, tell me one technique which can eliminate overfitting? It will be difficult for you to tell one technique. If I ask you top 5 techniques, you may be able to tell. Similarly here also, because these are the problems not just come from, because they are deep rooted into their foundational models only, that bias intentionally or not intentionally. So only with one guardrail or maybe one kind of fairness aspects or transparency, I'm not sure it will be able to eliminate. But multi-prong approach of multiple steps, depending on what the level of bias it has, right? If it is still going at a level where it is you are not able to tolerate any of them, then the entire model you need to change as well, right? So there multiple techniques which are there in the list. We'll go through that any of some of those anyway. Is going to help you out, not just one technique.
sure. Then we can wait, Prof. Thank you.
Yeah, but whatever you are telling is bits and pieces. Definitely the guardrails aspects or you are training fine-tuning aspect or RAG aspects. Yes, definitely it will be able to, because you want to prioritize your data, but those all needs to come together to give you that confidence. Okay. So if you go further on that in terms of where we have next set of, or maybe last slide before I jump to the applications, what we are talking here is inconsistency. What we mean by inconsistency is if we give the same prompt multiple times. By the way, these are all probabilistic models, as you know. And I am facing, I should not say very specifically me, we are facing an industry to give explanation to our customers saying that, okay, it's not like a rule-based systems, then it may not be 100% deterministic, but there are techniques to make it deterministic methods. Something like, okay, I will reduce the temperature or I'll reduce top P, some prompt I will change it. Yes, there are some techniques to make it close to deterministic system, but at the same time, by nature, they are probabilistic. Okay, do you understand the terms probabilistic and deterministic? Because these are the things, I'm not specifying a rule and then if I run 10 times, I will get exactly the same answer. Here it will be difficult for you. So sometimes it will over generate as well, just like the next one. Generative models can be verbose sometimes. And then if you ask 5 times, maybe if you ask the 5 times the same question, something like a sun rises in the east, it may not change that level of factual information unless it is very crazy. But if you are talking about general methods from an enterprise setup and all, if you ask multiple times, it may feel, okay, I'm not giving the right answer, let me change it. Okay, it will try to fetch different information and try to help us, even though we don't want that. So, but our job is, these are all internal explanations for us. Okay, that is probabilistic, deterministic. The customer wants, you give me what is required for me. Don't try to give your explanations. I'm not ready to accept. So that they will be very straightforward that way. From a user perspective, that may be correct. Then how much you are able to give. That's why some people still argue the professors, right? So when I have those intellectual discussions with them, everything people talk about now, agentic AI, Gen AI, our argument is, Yes, there are enough applications which you can think of agentic AI. Doesn't mean that hundreds of your enterprise applications will be taking the train of this agentic AI. Everywhere we don't really require. Just as an example, if you have a deterministic workflow, do you really require a Gen AI and agentic AI? You can automate it. Maybe do your typical automation. I'm not saying you can't automate it. Maybe you have some human in the loop and all that. My argument is you don't require Gen AI and agentic AI there. Are you with me? Unless you are doing any
Yes.
dynamic decision making. Okay. So let's stick to that. Only thing is by the time you come out of your course, by the time you complete your applications, we are coming out of the hype cycle. Now we are in the hype cycle. If something, even now, I am responsible for building agents in my organization. I'm being measured with that. But the point is, we are very specific when we talk about it. Yes, we right from product teams, right from CXO level, we are discussing if it is really necessary. Yes, we are here to build it. If not, we are able to. Yes, we are able to advertise. These are the agents we are building publicly. Right. So there is a real value add, and we are doing it. Some places they are simple automation kind of a thing. Yes, we will do it. Whether it's a Python automation, whether it's a Selenium, whether it's a Playwright. So you don't require to jump and see everything is agentic or everything is agentic is also to some extent okay. You are building agents, but doesn't mean that AI agents are required everywhere. That's where your understanding of limitations, that's where the understanding of capabilities will help you to decide in terms of what we talk about. Mm, 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 mm. So what we really talking there is understanding the limitations so that you will make a good job in terms of, yes, these are the limitations of the systems. These are the present way of scheme of things. And then accordingly, let's decide what are the top use cases for us. So that where we will see the end goal. It's not like POC we want to stop with, right? Finally, we want to make revenue out of it. That's what we are all being measured down the line. Then when we go into the data dependency, yes, quality of generated data definitely depend on the training data. We all know they are not latest and they are not curated. That's where, as some of you are talking about, Jansi was talking, right? So yeah, RAG and all, we are curating the data. So we'll get that, sort out some of the data dependency in case of context engineering part. And the last one, prompt sensitivity. The way a prompt is framed can significantly impact the output. The same OpenAI key, I will give it to everyone. I'll give you a same problem statement. The way we write the prompt, we may get a different answer, right? So that's where we need to require skill and experimentation so that effectively we want to uh, reach that robustness, reliable answers, right? So covering all the different scenarios. That's what our limitation there. The skill gap can help us. If you fill the skill gap, then we'll be able to address that. Yeah. So keeping that, I am going to jump to the next application landscape. But before that, yes, Deepak, you have a question.
Yeah, Professor, just based on what you mentioned, you're 100% right that the agentic AI and some of these terms are being used in a very like it's hyped in
Yes.
a big way.
Yeah.
So, in some of the cases that I've seen, they are kind of using it as uh, let's build a an agent, and
Mhm.
even though all of the steps are deterministic, using agentic AI to build that is being like that's what is happening right now. You can potentially use something like a robotic RPA kind of
Exactly.
like, but
Mm.
now what's happening is, I think one merit for that is that clients can start building those agents themselves using LLMs. You don't need actually like expertise in any of the scripting or whatever. What is happening right now is that they are saying they're using simple language in and using LLM to kind of build the agent, and from then on it becomes like some sort of like a Python script which runs in the background and then automates the whole thing. So whenever this agent is running, it's running as a deterministic process in the background. But when you're building the agent, you're using LLM to kind of build the agent. Is that a good use of how, or do you see that?
Definitely. That's perfectly fine, right? So, and it is our duty to convince the leadership as well. Yes, and I'm in most of the cases, believe me, it may not be 100% AI agentic. Even the flow is, let's say, 10 steps, right? There will be maybe 4, 5 steps are there dynamically you are deciding. That's okay. At least those are good use cases of AI agents where there are people who are claiming in the market, yeah, AI agentic and all, but 90% plus it is a deterministic one. Only one step of it maybe dynamically you are deciding, right? But that's the reason you need to be more proactive in identifying the right set of use cases. Yes, if you are able to do it at the end for customer, it doesn't matter. Right now, because these are hype, they will ask, okay, whether they are agentic, whether they are really AI agentic. The questions will come naturally, right? But at the end, as long as you are showing me a cost-effective solution acceptable by the business, I'm good. I don't care whether you use Gen AI, agentic AI, deterministic AI.
It should work consistently all
That's
the
it.
time.
Exactly. That's it.
So one of the questions that's coming also is that while they want it to work consistently, they're also asking the question about can this learn by itself?
Yeah.
Because
So that is the feedback loop in terms of because once you do this, all this RLHF, some of the concepts we will cover, right? So there are techniques. Now, because we are talking about ML ops thing, right? The identifying the drift, retraining. So that is one way. But here you can't do in a Gen AI and agentic AI world the same level of yes, I identify the drift, let me change and retrain. No, we won't be able to do that retraining, but maybe tuning these prompts, then maybe some more context engineering I want to use. So those steps are there, and then those kind of feedback, and then how you want to react to that. That's called agent ops in agentic AI, which is just evolving. And then LLM ops is some of the aspects which we'll try to cover as well.
okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe one last question from Bada.
Yes, please. Thank you. Just question for any non-tech, let's say, companies like medical or construction or any other companies, they don't have, let's say, a tech background or anything. If they want to use or get benefit of the Gen AI, because of this limitation, I can say that they should have some in-house team dealing with kind of, let's say, tools or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Or
or
there
maybe
any-
partnership as well. If they don't have in-house team, if they don't have luxury, the easiest thing is partner with. Whether the partnership is directly with AWS, Azure kind of the world, or there are some mid-sized companies based on their thing. So that partnership also help them not to reinvent the wheel, identifying the right set of use cases. How do they make win-win? Is one more approach to think of.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Because sometimes having an in-house team may take time, may be affordable or not. But ultimately, if you ask me, yes, I need some down the line a in-house team if you are trying to become an AI first. But only thing is the starting point, yes, while you are building, even if you are getting an approval of build an agentic AI team or build a Gen AI team, I don't know, in different countries it may vary, Vietnam, Bangladesh, US and all. At least in my experience, I can't build even my leadership has given me some budget immediately. It takes a couple of months for me to build the right set of team. But we can't wait till that time. So let's go with the partnership mode. Let's understand. But at the end, you need to keep your IP. That's the strategy which is working.
Exactly. Good. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. So now what we will do now is, this is the slide, 2 slides, what I'm trying to show it to you earlier. So is there one more question, Suvir? Yeah, go ahead.
So just a very quick follow-up question. You said at the end you must keep your IP. Will you be covering this later at any point of time when it comes to build an IP?
I'm going to cover some of those, even the patents, the patent process and all. If it is interested, I may be taking towards the end of any one particular session, how you want to file. The patent is one aspect of IP. Some of the aspects I can cover based on your
Okay,
interest.
great. Then I'll ask the questions at that time itself then. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. So so what we are trying to cover here is the 2 slides. We'll cover these and then we'll take a short break at that time. So at least one I'll try to cover and then I'll come back to this specific use cases after the break. Here what we are talking is, yes, we remember the 7 types of data, numerical, text and all that. In the similar way, what we are able to capture here is there is text data, code level data, image level, speech level, video level, 3D, and then some generic these audio, video and all that. So here the application layer, what kind of applications you are talking on the top and what kind of tools. These tools may not be the top in the list as we speak in 2026. The reason is that the leaderboard, they keep changing, but at least there are standard ones which we have talked about. So what does that mean is in case of text, the marketing team can do it, and even sales team, some email supports, generative writing, note taking. There are n number of applications in the text. Similarly, from the code, you can generate the code generation, code optimization. Only few of them are here, but I'm just telling from the code perspective. In a software engineering world, the code generation, code completion, code verification, code modernization, code optimization. So these are the things which we are talking from the code, and which is much, much mature now. Maybe the Claude is not there, so definitely it is taking the center stage as we speak. And other things definitely on this OpenAI or Stability.ai. So then similarly an image, you see a lot of applications in terms of these a deepfake or maybe any of these DALI E2, E3 or Stable Diffusion. We do have applications of image generation. Now, how easily people are generating it. Even sometimes I'll give a lot of content just before a keynote if I need to generate a beautiful image conveying my point of 2, 3 slides. Yes, I am taking help of these tools it is generating, and then we are not claiming that I generated it. We will say, yeah, there is an logo for that. Yes, it is. I used it. Maybe a Gemini or any other tool to generate the content. There's no problem in telling that, right? So if you want a proprietary rights on that, there are things, okay, you may need to buy it and all that. It's a separate thing. Okay, that comes even the joint ownership, how things will work and all. When it comes to the speech point, yes, there is a voice synthesis, then video editing generation, then 3D model. There are a lot of things, such things in terms of your Veo 3 is also there. So there are such tools which are available in the market for us to do it. Maybe even in the text, if you see here, there is definitely OpenAI, and then on top of it, Anthropic also has this Claude point of view. Then DeepMind also has Gopher. There are multiple tools available for us. What it is telling these things, you can, from your domain expertise, you may say, I may be image heavy in my domain. I may be code may be very generic from all IT companies or IT departments. But from a text, image, speech, video, and all, you need to see where your data is heavy on. Then are they your specific USPs where you need to spend time on that? Some places what will happen, there may be a third-party tool which may come into picture. So as a business leader in a strategy perspective, where we need to bet on whether our team and building all that is where you have your clear USP in the market. Then you don't want to leave that IP aspects, and then you are able to get time on and energy in those, not on the peripheral thing. Peripheral thing you can partner with, somebody else can do it. That is also low-hanging fruits. A small team can do it. That's perfectly fine. Right? So, but it will give us both a bigger challenges to think of and even the low-hanging fruits. So you need to work from both the sides. Then you need to start preparing it. That's where we'll give us the next slide, which I'll keep it as a reference during our break, just to have a look, and then we start discussing that. But before that, any questions, comments on this slide?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. So, for the code, they're also talking about cursor.
Cursor as well. Yes. Yeah, cursor is there. Copilot is there. Yes. There are vibe coding
and
tools.
Python. And Python is like, well, when we talk about Python, we're talking about the language that, like,
Yes.
under code, right?
Yes.
And do they use Python to like create some of these models?
Not really. So that is maybe a language which we people use as a dominantly, but that is not a dependency at all. So these Claude Code or cursors or copilots, that doesn't have any dependency on the Python per se.
Thank you. And just curiosity questions regarding the best use case, not use case, but best practice right now among companies. What do you think? What do you see for the companies users are using? Like, are they mostly jump from apps to apps, and maybe like marketing will be in charge of videos and 3D. Then they will use Rim Fusion and Microsoft XClip, and so it will be like ask to acts. And the company is just trying to manage or maybe purchase company account and try to like sign contract with them, making sure that all of whatever they create belongs to the companies, right?
Yeah.
That's how
Yes.
they manage.
Yes. So I am with you on that. It's not like one size or one tool fits all the departments. But what we see is not like one tool we are trying to force to everyone. But there are some tools like Claude or Copilot which are generic enough to cater to different requirements. But on top of it, we do have, let's say, Lupio for RFP related, or Lovable for this product managers, or the Cloud Code for the coding people, or HireVue for the hiring. So like that, there are individual department level based on the usage, and then we can review and approve. Some of them are like Copilot and all will come as a common initial checkpoints for these people or from my tools. That's how typically the approach is.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, quick question. So are companies trying to be like a platform where they gonna control on of the usage, or right now they can't really do that. They might use Claude and go all the way with it, and might minimize the apps they are using. Or sorry, I wonder if that makes sense. Sorry.
Yeah, that is making sense. It is actually what size, because in your case, it maybe not be a big enterprise, but still, you want to see your priorities, right? What are the things which you are trying to solve, and in the order of priority. That's perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Suvir, you have a question?
So sorry in case this question comes across as either repetitive or silly, but what is meant by model layer here? Does it just mean model?
The model layer, when I say that, yeah, it's more like a models. They are giving us the different models from different companies. That's why I'm just giving it as a layer. So, but your point is right. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So what we will do now, so I'm not seeing any other hands raised. So what we will do now is we'll just recap where we are right now. Then we'll take maybe 10 minutes break and then come back. And then once we are back for next, whatever, 1 hour, 15 minutes or so, whatever we have, we'll try to cover a bigger use cases here. So anyway, I'm going to cover healthcare, edtech, and fintech separately. Other than that, you can choose one of the theme from here. We will start with that and then go into the edtech setup of university. Then we will go into healthcare. Then we will go into some fintech as well, at least to get the bigger perspective. Then we'll try to collate, you may be representing different organizations, different domains, and then hopefully we'll have some time towards the end to talk on those as well, right? So the slides anyway will be shared, and then it's not like I'm reading line by line, but we'll give you a bigger perspective and open up for the discussion, which should give you confidence at the end of the session. Are you excited enough to think these are the use cases? First landing spot can be your own assignment, right? So on top of it, yeah, you are using your own domain space. You may not be able to use exactly for your assignment based on your IP issues, or you are not proprietarily not allowed to submit as an assignment. That's perfectly fine. But you need to think of those, if one starting use case you can think of from your domain. If I'm able to excite you based on the different use cases, that's the success of this particular module. Not module, maybe this particular session. Then how do you implement it? How do you take it forward? That all we'll talk in the further sessions. Okay. So I'll take 30 seconds to recap where we are right now, and then we'll take a pause for a break. So we started our journey just recapping what we have done yesterday, then went into what is Gen AI, then demystified the terms like foundational models, fine tuning versus transfer learning. What is the difference? Linking your deep learning knowledge of transfer learning, why this is not directly jumping into retraining. That's the last resort. Before that, we do have prompt engineering, RAG, and fine tuning, something like PEFT, parameter efficient fine tuning, that we will cover double clicking of those details later. But this is what the overall landscape we have agreed on. Then we talked about where the investments are going, some trends we are able to talk, and then you are able to share what's going on now as well. So models, yes, even though there is some investments and all that, they're not like a top runners as we speak. And then those plots are going into the infrastructure and platforms and apps as we speak now. Then we agreed it's not like everything is AI agentic or maybe Gen AI. We need to be wearing the hat of your domain plus AI expertise to identify the right use cases which are suitable for us. To do that, we have talked about some limitations and then try to answer some of your points and then able to get a bigger picture of what you can do at a specific data type. Then when you come back to the actual use cases of verticals, what are the things which we can do? We'll start once we come back from the break. Okay. If you are good so far, hope the pace is okay. You are able to follow.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's good.
perfect. Sure. Then let me start the clock for 10 minutes break and then come back. Yeah, hope you are back from the break. Yeah, thanks for confirming. So anyway, healthcare in this list, or maybe the drug discovery, those things will cover. Other than that, any specific uh, domain you want to start with our discussion out of
Professor,
this?
I'm interested in e-commerce.
E-commerce, okay.
Yes.
We can start with that. So in case of e-commerce, let's see what is happening in this list, but I can add on top of that as well. So one is how do you do the product page descriptions, display images? Now, what is happening from this e-commerce, especially, you are trying to personalize, right, to an individual level, which will be difficult earlier, but now you can craft it and based on their personal preferences, you are trying to personalize it to an individual level with the help of Gen AI. That is one. And second thing is, how are you bringing these conversational chatbots and then trying to most of the queries which they typically come to the customer care these days, right? In the e-commerce thing, whether you are return of a product, whether you are complaining it, and then you are maybe taking the photos and then maybe videos, or you are just validating from your computer vision applications and then trying to see whether it is, or trying to check the history of the customer, how trustworthy is he. There are things which they are maintaining separate portfolio in terms of how the particular customer is giving the returns, what is the pattern of his buying, his or her buying behavior. These are all coming into picture, and those conversational chatbots are trying to solve so many, let's say, issues. Right? They are not anymore just asking a query and get an answer. That is very much solved without even Gen AI, right? Those chatbots. But the point here is how can we solve the real issues without even the human intervention? And on top of it, SEO strategy, which is having earlier, is a search engine optimization SEO means, right? So how are we changing that with these new fields what you are trying to fill? At the same time, when you are thinking of this Amazon of the world, Flipkarts of the world, you have many vendors who might not have filled their data correctly, right? So can we use Gen AI to fill those things? Or from a customer perspective, yesterday we were talking about there may be hundreds of reviews of these products, same product by different customers. Can you give a summary of it personalized to an individual, right? That we is still not there in many of those, right? So that means based on my demography, based on my age group, based on my personal preferences, I may be cost sensitive versus brand sensitive versus quality sensitive, right? So keeping those, can I give those kind of summarization, right? So that is not very trivial kind of a thing, right? Those kind of use cases can come very well from Gen AI. Similarly, how are we seeing the last one? If you see from these automated detection and prevention of fraudulent activities. So in terms of fake purchase or returns, if somebody's talking about that, that's issue is still existing, right? There are I still remember some of the travel companies try to give some fake, promote these fake reviews from users. They will be paying that users. How do you really identify that fraudulent information is still an open question. Similarly, the no-code reporting, customer behavior, no-code reporting and recommendations. Can you give the right set of recommendations from for the users with power of Gen AI? Otherwise, also the recommendations without Gen AI, also people can do it. So this is kind of some gamut of applications which we can think from e-commerce. If I take a pause, is it
Professor,
making
let's say
sense?
in
Yeah,
India,
yeah,
you mentioned Flipkart is a platform
yeah, like Amazon. Yeah,
like Amazon. Yeah,
yeah,
Amazon is the other big one in India.
yes.
So is there any company or business that is servicing the sellers, the vendors? Let's say in
B2B you are talking about.
B2C, let's say on Flipkart, are there businesses in India
Mhm.
servicing the sellers, the vendors? Let's say on what type of products to sell, how to
Mhm.
price it, how to advertise, how much to advertise,
Mhm.
What is the competitive landscape? What's the
Mm.
return on ad spend?
Mm.
Because what happened is that in the US, there's a 3 to 4 companies, and they have started consolidating in the last 6 months. And when they consolidated, they become unicorns. Means
Yes.
they are more than $1 billion company now.
Yes.
So I'm just asking if you see that occurring in India at the moment.
Yeah, there are some companies, but even these companies like Amazon as well, they have the separate seller kind of division, right? What we are seeing from customer side, but there is a separate big sellers are there, even on the local sellers also they want to add to the system. And there are other companies which I have seen, Monglix, if I remember correctly. Uh, they're they are industry specific. They are B2C, but at the same time, for the bulk buyers also there is a different vendor, right? So, but when you are seeing from the seller lens, even these companies like Amazon are also doing that kind of statistics, that kind of information to them, just like they are giving us the reviews and all that. They are customer centric, what I'm talking about, right? So they are on the customer side, but the same other side when they are onboarding the people. I told one application of that from seller side. Each
Yes.
seller may not be able to give all the details. Can GenAI fill those details,
Yes.
autofill, right? That is an application from seller. Similarly, some more extra services they can give, what kind of pricing you need to place it here, and what kind of, whether it is free or paid, that they can decide based on the revenue, based on the type of the customer, based on the segment of it. But yes, they do have that because the data is available already with those people, right? They can offer it as a paid service to them, or maybe as a subscription based. Okay, I'm becoming a Prime member, I'm getting some benefits. Similarly, on the seller side, also they may have some of these uh, opportunities because the data is there. It's just a matter of insights and then showing it and then making as a business model.
Yes.
So I'll jump in here if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Sam, to answer your question, in India, the Amazon seller optimization has been outsourced to a organization called Tech Mahindra. Mahindra is one of the large family consortiums that manages several lines of business, and their tech arm, Tech Mahindra, has officially won the seller optimization mandate from Amazon. Although their AI stack is managed by a small fledgling startup in Bangalore, which I have some interest in, Sam. And if you're interested to talk about, we can chat about it over the course of the week. Happy to
Yes.
exchange some notes.
Yeah, I'll be very happy to do that.
Sure,
In
sure.
Southeast Asia here, similar to Flipkart in India, we have the platform called Shopee, and they are dominating already in Southeast Asia. And what happened is that the sellers are being crushed because
Mhm.
it's very, very, very difficult to determine pricing, product offering, advertising on ad spend, inventory keeping, because the competition is very brutal. So as is happening in the US, there's a big demand for seller side AI assisted decision making. So thank you, Suvir.
Yeah, then let's continue some of the discussions. So that's a good point. The like-minded kind of concepts, right? You can discuss offline as well. Thanks for bringing that.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue further. So then you can, some of the other things you can take it here as well. I just started with one. Then let's go into, we will spend maybe 20 minutes each roughly for the next three big segments, and then we'll take some time to, we still have roughly an hour or slightly more than that. So what we will do here from the EdTech or university, you are anyway on that university setup now, so you can just think some of those are closer to what we are doing, or maybe what we can do from both as a student kind of a mindset or as a administrative mindset or even a professor mindset, right? So what kind of applications you can see? It's too many points which you can talk about, and then I'll try to highlight the important ones here. Okay. So if you see the university students kind of applications, what we are talking here is mainly from First, from a homework assistance, let's say we are giving you assignments. Similarly, just think not just only you as a student, but there are things which at a university level set up. They do have right from admissions process. Then you go into the student view. There is a homework assistance. How do you generating explanations and solutions from homework? But now it is becoming a challenge to the instructors as well. If you give some simple problems, just like we do a couple of years ago, they are trying to use the Gen AI. You can't stop completely, right? So then what kind of learning they have at the end, right? So we need to be seeing it tricky. So sometimes even some of the universities, I still remember, you want to use these GPTs of the world, you can do it for this particular assignment, but give us the prompts, the screenshot of it. This is what the prompts I use. So that will also tell us how creatively you are solving the problem. Right? So then how there's the other side of the problem. How do you evaluate and all? But once you receive some kind of a problem to solve, then you are taking help of any of these tools. That is one way to look at. Second thing is providing study tips and summaries. So whether you use Notebook LM or some other tool, then offering virtual tutors for a wide range of subjects. What does that mean is each of you have your own strength and your own way of learning, right? So in terms of it's not just only homework thing, right? We are talking about even study level. Each of you will have your own. Some people are good in okay, if you are able to hear and discuss, your knowledge will be much more. Maybe you are confident that way to gain that particular knowledge. Some of you maybe independently you need to study, or some of you need even some virtual tutors to take it. Some of you are very good in reading and then getting that right. Each of your personalization, you can see what kind of assistance the Gen AI can provide, especially offering the virtual tutors or creating this kind of study plans, personalized. So those are the things which it can do from Gen AI. And those kind of gamification it can do, create quizzes, exercises that we can definitely do from in an adaptive way. Then similarly, personalized learning path, that's the second part as a subset. You can see based on your performance of the data, how we will be able to interact. Just like the chess games, they are interacting with the computer and then to sharpen your skills. Similarly, you have your own personalized learning path. Even we have a startup, EdTech startup. Our main focus is that in terms of we are not talking about there is a too much of information we need to create. There is abundant information which is available in whatever the form, and more information is there than required as well, to be frank. But our time is limited, right? And then how do we get that personalized learning plan? I can't completely leave it to the GPT of the world or Gemini of it. It can give you something, but even if you are able to give some more personal information, there is always a limitation because it may not understand the local context, and you may not be able to provide in every context whatever is required to be there, right? So that's where maybe there are other startups or other companies which they want to leverage, not as a competition for the existing thing that can leverage with their setup, but still giving the personalized ones which are meaningful. That will go till the career guidance as well in terms of what kind of majors and career paths we can give it to the students for rest of whatever the years. And then how can we write all these? Now it is becoming a challenge. Unjokingly, people say that our HR team used to say, we are generating JDs using AI. People are submitting the AI-based resumes only, including the cover letters, and we are interviewing with AI tools itself. But finally, we are not able to fill the right positions with right people. Okay. So, but still, there should not be missing of human element. That's one part of the story. But other than that, we still need to be very careful in terms of what are the things which they require really from the particular profile, right? So that's where the career guidance will help you. Then research assistant, then definitely these kind of notebook LMs as a very good example, or maybe your Perplexity as another example. It can generate the citations, bibliographies. It can help you to do research much faster. So as I was saying earlier, I don't know whether I used the same statement. During our PhD, we used to be measured in a traditional way. You need to spend 10,000 hours to master any subject, and then you need to go a little more deeper into that to independently do the research. That's the kind of mindset. Maybe I might have done it in 7, 8 years. My brother full time has done it in 3.5 years. And typically that's how the US system, UK system, or even Indian system works. The DBA is slightly different in terms of business oriented. It's not as demanding as PhD, but maybe it is good for you being the business leaders. You don't. How can you spend 10,000 hours? Just think of it. That may take a couple of years, like 7, 8 years for you while you are working and doing it. So the point is, we don't really require even for PhD with the scope of this Gen AI and agentic AI penetration. Why do we require those 10,000 hours? It may change time. Over the time, it may change that also. The point is, you still need to do the creative thinking. You need to still solve the interesting problem. But the thing is, first 1.5 year, which we typically spend time for downloading papers, research it and all, now use the tools, the same level of efficiency you will be able to get within few months, maybe 3 months itself. So we are trying to condense that time. Don't require to be in the traditional way, right? So that's where very good examples come into picture from Gen AI applications. Then language translation, definitely, there may be programs which we need to translate in a local language so as to get a good understanding and continue. Definitely the personalized schedules it can take and offering productivity tips it can do. So these are the angle what I'm looking from the students. Okay. So if you have any comments, you can continue. Otherwise, I'll see from a staff angle as well the similar applications, and then keep raising your hand if you have any questions or comments on any of those, whether that will work, whether that is the right one, or anything else you want to pick it up, any of such things as well. Okay. So when we talk from this university staff, so content generation, definitely we can use some of these, as I mentioned already. If I want to generate some PPTs, maybe the same. Just like this kind of a content is looking a little heavy. If I want to gamify this and all, yes, I can just update the content here and maybe generate, which is where we have license with, generate an image or maybe generate a condensed content of it. Very much possible. Similarly, assisting scheduling meetings, managing emails, that is also very much possible from an administrative support, so that some of these time is being saved. Then research assistants, definitely we can, whatever the review comments which we have, whatever the students are trying to give us, how do we summarize? How do we give the insights beyond that, right? So maybe you may have a different tool as well. Then admissions and enrollment, there's a staff, if you see, they manage inquiries. It can be an automated chatbot which can give the latest information. Then emergency response, yeah, providing alternate automated alerts and then offering guidance as well, very much possible from Gen AI. Then student support services like a maybe offer career counseling, internship recommendations. So then when you use Gen AI, what will happen based on the profiles, based on what the request is, whether it is a placements or whether it is counseling kind of recommendations. Yes, there is an expert who can oversee this, but the Gen AI can do that job based on your, it has a lot of information what the trend is, and then what your individual maybe strengths are. Accordingly, it can generate as well. And then social media management and website content, sometimes generation of the content and even maintaining it as well. Right? Then how do you, and maybe these days, how can we get the assistance from grading assignments as well? So it's not, maybe there are tools which are trying to correct the way the formulas and proofs, any of those as well. And the last one, how do you assist the information retrieval and the research assistance from the library information systems? I'm trying to touch different angles from an edit tech, and you can connect with some of them. And then before I go into the sample case study from an admissions thing, so are you able to follow in terms of if you want to pick few up, you don't require to do all of these. If you are trying to pick in this direction, are you getting some leads in terms of, yes, these are potential use cases from Gen AI?
Professor, one question. We are expected to pick any one of the use case and amplify, right, for the first assignment.
That I will give you the clues as well. So this one is to trigger there I will give you 10 problem statements in 10 different domains. You can pick one of them or you can choose any of them. So these ones, if you are interested in continuing any of these, what excites you as a problem statement, right? So am I able to trigger your thought process? You may say I'm not coming from the edtech background. I may choose something else. That's okay. But there are things, some of them are very common, which you can talk at a horizontal level. And I'm going to talk a few more in the next within the
Yeah.
next 1 hour. So whether
Professor,
you are coming from this domain or other domain, are you able to pick some of these horizontals and then think, okay, from your domain, are you able to pick some use cases? Yeah, that's the thought process.
yeah. So, Professor, in this domain, I was having a thought in my mind.
Yes, please.
Today, we conduct so many original research with the PhD students
Okay.
and, in fact, DBA students also. Now, can a Claude or any of these foundation models become a research, candidate and do original research?
Do original research, it takes some more time to reach because you need a lot of reasoning capability, lot of problem solving capability, right? Taking assistance is right now available as well. But doing an independent research and trusting those results, we are still not ready yet.
So even with any of the agents, the fundamental original thinking creative brain is missing, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. We need to control that in terms of you are responsible at the end, right? So to be doing in a balanced way, at least till the AGI comes, artificial general intelligence comes, it is better to have that steering with us, right? Otherwise, maybe some AGI comes and it may take over that as well. But as of now, the steering is with you in terms of what problems to solve, how to solve. Then let's take the help of these different tools and techniques and then coming with some kind of a platforms to solve this problem efficiently. That's the better approach, at least for next few years before the next technology disrupts.
So I was seeing few of the two of the things. One is from Darius Amodius' recent comment that now the Claude, the model itself is being developed by the model.
Exactly. That's also happening. So the next level of models, earlier what is happening, we are able to generate some content from the previous model and do it. Now they are becoming autonomous. They try to identify the feedback. Somebody talked about in the earlier session, right? How do you take the feedback thing and then how do I upgrade it and all? They are trying to be self-sufficient, which is good or not. I'll say there is equally bad as well because who will have the control of it if something goes wrong? Even now at a level where we are having complete review of these particular scenarios, even within that also we are losing control of it. What will happen if there is some agents building the systems? Who will be taking what kind of control? How it can avoid anything harmful activity to do that? It is our responsibility to do it.
And another comment from Darius Amodi himself is that we should somehow stop developing further because, for example, like if only we can create original research being done by the machine, we will lose the purpose of human being, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's why we don't want to give it to them, at least some of those activities in our own interest from humanity. So,
thanks, Professor.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're good so far, then slowly let me go into the same use case as well. So yeah, Vin, go ahead.
Sorry, I just was thinking of when we use agents, not agent, but like chatbot and all of those kinds of LLMs, there is a problem that there is a limit in history. They can't really memorize some of our maybe where they can memorize our history, but it only goes to an extent. And also there is a good thing and bad thing about it. that first is we can start over, and then it has short memory, but even when it has long memories, it also remembers our bad things, right?
Yeah,
So for the like in a bigger picture, how do the models itself? I imagine that the models will remember all of information generated every day, and there is like they have a system to eliminate bad, and yeah, I don't know how it's working, but I think in some companies in Vietnam right now, that's the problem.
yeah,
They don't trust because they can't really go to, and they can't really remember the history, or they remember bad things
I do
too.
agree.
Thank you.
So what will happen in those things is usually, mm, let me put this way. It will remember some things definitely long term, short term when you talk about, and then trying to get the control of it. Unless you explicitly remove some of those data points, unless you instruct in a prompt that these are the things which are going, you need to give a feedback and make sure whether it is in cache or whether it is in a system, you want to low prioritize it or you want to remove that. So that's an activity which we need to do in an, because agent ops or maybe LLM ops is still not end-to-end mature in what you are talking about. So that's the reason we need to take the control of it in the human in the loop, and what things are really working, keep it, what things are not really working, that customization is really required.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay. Then if I continue with one example before I shift the gears to healthcare, maybe in the next 10 minutes, take example of any elite university, whatever the GGU or any university with maybe in US or any other place. It is highly competitive college with admissions to improve their efficiency, provide better experience. How do you use the Gen AI? So if you go further on that in terms of enhance their performance, so we can use this for, let's say, in that particular problem, these are the challenges we want to address, and we have to give you the solution as well. One is application processing or reviewing it. It's going to take a couple of months of process, right? Why do we require? So why can't we review it with AI to start with? I'm not saying end-to-end process. I want to give it to that. Similarly, essay assessment, yes, SOP or some other documents, what you are saying, can we analyze, right, based on the trend? How genuine it is, and then how you are able to add those from the assessment. Then application support. Naturally, there'll be curious learners. We keep on pinging, and then there is one dedicated person needs to be there covering different time zones. What's the status? Why do we need to have all that? So in the expansion of it, we do have these requirements, deadlines captured, and then we need to give the responses to these queries. Is the challenge we want to address with. Okay. So when you talk about these addresses, I started giving the solutions as well, but that's what the next slide is all about for each of these things what we are talking. Sorry, where are we? Here, the solution, right? Automated application screening. Yes, we do have these integrated AI algorithms to generate it. Enhanced AI assessment is definitely possible. And AI-powered applicant support as well with the chatbots. So right from giving it may tell this is the probability of getting that admissions, or maybe this is where we are stuck in getting that. Those aspects are very much possible. From a specific results point of view, we can see what are all the specific aspects we are able to capture. And then I will take a pause after this. We have faster application processing naturally, then improved essay assessment, as long as we are doing the right job. Otherwise, what will happen? You will do your part and still it will be there with us in unimproved state, right? So we need to see. Then enhanced applicant experience is what we are talking about, because we are getting the quick responses, at least for the regular use cases points. Then increased efficiency is there, where allowing them to allocate more time to strategic decision making instead of getting a rudimentary way of activities. Towards the end, we are talking about data-driven insights. So the GenAI system collects a lot of information, just like you are asking in the questions as well. We need to provide those valuable insights to the admission process. Okay. So this is what one application seeing from different views, and this is where we presented the overall. Are we good with this EdTech kind of example before we shift to the healthcare? Any specific questions, comments? Yeah, Vin?
Professor, can you quickly, for this, like case study results, can you quickly tell us share the tools that actually used in this case? Like maybe AI assisted essay assessment. What did they actually use? AI powered chatbots, like it's a tools, and then like what type of system behind? Maybe just the name of it quickly. Thank you.
What specific name you are
Like,
asking?
are they using like LLMs? They're using to build
From
the
this particular case
models.
study, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
here definitely they are using LLM. These are not yet agentic AI applications, GenAI applications, only what we are covering here. So in this particular process, definitely I'm not talking about a specific model, but the general LLMs, what I can prefer for this kind of applications based on the use case, right? So you will be able to see from either Mistral or Llama for the local one, or you can use these OpenAI or the Claude. And these are not very reasoning specific. I don't require Opus or maybe reasoning models. The regular model LLM model should be good enough.
Thank you.
Okay.
Probably one more application that we generally use for such kind of use cases where we have a Codility, which allow us to get the application shortlisted and then conduct an interview in an AI mode and generates the insight that how interview and the assessment goes.
Very
And
good.
then
So
we
what kind
make a
of
decision on top of that.
yeah, what is the tool you are talking about there?
Codility.
Codility. Okay. I have not used myself, but I have similar other tool. But good. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Prince, you have any question? Or we have Greaves as well. Sorry, here before you.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good.
Hi. Yeah.
So one of the assumptions in these results is that the hiring quality actually improved,
Definitely.
right? It's a very big assumption because, for example, if people know that AI is the one that's shortlisting, well, then you use AI to create the AI quality CVs and letters to bypass that first layer and get to the humans anyway, right? So and then with the idealistic, because you probably using AI to create the job descriptions in the first place, to create the requirements in the first place. Is it even realistic and all of that stuff? So in the end, one of the things that's assumed but not actually stated in these results is that the organization and the quality of the fit is actually making sense. Are you getting the right people with the growth versus stretch versus creativity, or are you just or are the strategic folks at the end still getting the people that were best at using AI to bypass that phase? So my question is, in these results, I think the most important thing isn't actually mentioned here. Was it actually work?
I agree with you in terms of what we are talking on the assumptions, and then it needs to net. Just like I've given you one example, right? On a side note, the HR kind of we are using everywhere AI, but we are not filling the positions so quickly, the right positions, right? Exactly the similar lines you are talking, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We need to have that humanness where we need to use the tools. Definitely, we need to use that. And these things, some places we can't make it completely, especially the HR or maybe these recruitment. Yes, we do have some evaluation and all, but that personalization or maybe the actual, some places empathy aspects, those are not driven by the AI, right? So we need to add that. in the process. It's not like completely somebody is evaluating without your knowledge, without somebody humanly verifying it as well. You are getting an admission letter. We are not at that stage yet. Okay. They have properly built skills on whatever models they have. Okay. Good. So now I do have next two use cases from healthcare. In the next half an hour, whatever we have, we are trying to see the generative AI from healthcare, and then towards then we will talk on the fintech as well. So in case of generative AI from healthcare, if you see there is a GPT, there is a DALL-E, Stable Diffusion. These are different tools. Some may be for image generation, some may be for code generation, right? So these are all applicable to have this medical imaging, drug discovery, personalized medicine, population health management. This itself is a separate domain which we can speak for the rest of the session as well. But we want to give a glimpse of it in terms of what we are really talking. Then we will be able to see how we'll be able to individually talk about those problem statements. So if you talk these medical imaging, it is more like image synthesis or automated segmentation. What do you mean by that is any of these machines, MRI, then CT machines and all. So it can also detect. So I still remember during my working experience with Philips Healthcare, right? So there I'm not talking anything proprietary because some of the patents what we filed, maybe around 15, 20 patents during the journey on autonomous image acquisition, because we are talking about that particular point. There, most of them are in public domain, so I can talk on those. Some of them are granted, some of them are in review. So we talked about autonomous image acquisition as a theme and then able to work with just before the COVID, right? And then luckily it became handy during the COVID with as the title indicates, autonomous image acquisition without human much of intervention. Let's say doctor is asking a specific particular scan with these details can be based on the profile of the patient. Can it be auto set those some of these settings for these MRI, CT, or any of them? So I can minimize the intervention of the technician there, okay, or automate the process to the extent possible, even if it detects some kind of a shake within or maybe a movement which is beyond the limit, can we identify immediately and then try to get it into a repeat mode instead of again completely rescheduling and all. Similarly, drug discovery. So during COVID, you know how much of effort it has been put in to have an emergency level approval for a couple of months to come out of that situation, right? So usually that kind of drug discovery or maybe some kind of vaccine generation takes how many? Maybe 10 years, right? On an average. Now we are talking about few months. That may be energy usage because some places we don't know what is the, let's say, side effect of it, right? So generating those different scenarios, okay, that is also a good Gen AI application, which can in turn reduce these kind of use cases. That it can improve the overall clinical trial design, right? So that is what important for us. Then if you talk about some of these administrative tasks, right? Maybe these appointment management is one example. Then how do you predict in terms of these cancellations? How do you not overbook at the same time? How we can generate these different scenarios to efficiently maintain that appointments? Or if I talk about the claims processing, streamlined billing. So even if you're talking about combining with insurance, how we are going to take that streamlined billing, then how you can talk about automated regulatory compliance checks, right? There you just think of it. You are operating in different countries, Europe, China, India, Japan, US, as a healthcare organization. Then there is a change in, let's say, one of the organization's policy of AI. So that may have an impact on you and positive, or maybe sometimes it may be a later part of it. So can you reflect these kind of compliance checks which are dependent on the policy making? Can we get those details so as to estimate this is where the automated changes in your compliance checks that you can build an agent as well on top of Gen AI. But these are the things which are really possible with reduced human intervention and improved performance or efficiency, you can call it as. Then pandemic preparedness. Can you, early detect and then surveillance? And then there are things which we can optimize these vaccine development as well, optimize the resource allocation for this preparedness. So as of now, we are in a situation where we are trying to make that scenario planning and preparedness. Why that is important for us is different scenarios based on the widespread availability. You will be able to get that scenarios which are generated by Gen AI that will give us better preparedness any of these pandemic situations to address. Okay. Then I will take, yeah, I have seen some hand was raised. Just give me maybe 2, 3 more minutes before I open it up. So other aspects, because I'm trying to get a different angles, you may be connected with some of them, if not with all. So personalized medicine. So I still remember using these earlier. Maybe I used some LSTM kind of a models to generalize and personalize the general models, right? So, but now you can think of even using of Gen AI because they are able to get this particular information from multiple sources. How we are able to take that, specifically. Those are the points we are talking from a personalized one. And then what is the impact of it, right? Personalized. What will happen is we don't require to visit the doctors maybe every 2 months as a routine. No, you maybe need to visit within 2 weeks, or we may not require to visit for 6 months as well, depending on the situation there. And that will be involved in both diagnosis and prognosis as well. The last one here is medical research, and just like any other research, even here also you can use the tools like these GPTs and notebook LMs. How do you really optimize the real resource allocations? Then how are you coming to with the insights? Those are different applications, gamut of applications, which I'm giving it to you for your consumption thinking process. And if you're coming from this domain, some of you are, you can think of what more applications are coming to your domain now. That brings one step-by-step process, which I will do anyway. That not limited to only healthcare, but you can go ahead with your question, Peter.
Hi, Prof. Sorry, because I have this idea, but I don't think I have the ability to write down whether for the assignment for this TBA. But my idea is I'm also not very sure, but I got this feeling that it's doable. So please, I need your advice.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's regarding taking a for stereographic radiography. I'm not sure whether you've heard of it. Since you're in medical,
yeah,
right. So basically, it's something similar to photogrammetry, which you take photos from different angles and let the machine to recreate the 3D image as a total by stitching them up. So similarly for X-rays radiography, which in many rural places which they can only afford a 2D X-ray image, and then they have to take orthogonistically, the AP and then the lateral, and then let the radiologist try to form that 3D image in their own head. Now, and that can also be missed out because 2D image is very compressed with superimposition of structures. So if we could use AI in Gen AI to help to recreate the 3D by taking a few 2D images of the chest, let's say chest X-rays from different angles, different perspective, and let the generative AI stitch them back into a 3D slice or 3D. And that is also a possible, proof of value, right?
So are you able to, because there are some 3D viewers, or maybe how do you Given some kind of a 2D images, can you generate a 3D image which is personalized, is what we are talking about in the last few minutes. But have you exhausted the existing tools which are to be used for this purpose? Have you seen the comparison of it before you think of, yes, this is the gap we are trying to address?
Traditionally, that was very long during the film days when we were taught to take the chest X-rays from two different perspectives, and by use of the prism, the radiologist is looking through that prism to try to visualize the image of the chest with a depth perception. So that was a traditional way.
Got it.
And
So,
there was a paper in Thailand which they actually they built a model using, they have a box and then they planted a few nails all over the place, and they try to use a computer, they take X-rays and they try to use the computer systems to regenerate the spatial distances differences, and they say it is probable but it's still limited. So that was more than 20 years ago. So but right now 20 years since, I that time I don't think it's that powerful yet, Gen AI.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
definitely we can use this. So only thing is we will take it offline, but I appreciate your thinking process. Maybe there are some people who may be coming from the background, those also we can give inputs. But at this stage, what we are really, what will be one quick recommendation for you is, one is on the technology thing you are trying to make 2D to 3D, but which department out of this healthcare, all that, right? Where they are trying to solve the problem now. So what are the issues which you are trying to address? And then think through, this is the kind of a solution you are trying to talk about, right? That kind of a flow is always important for us to look into. And then which department will have immediate impact of it, whether it is in terms of the cost or low radiation, what are the benefits. If you try to prepare it into a use case, first thing you can think of is how, if it is really innovative, how do you really patent it, right? So how do you really park your idea? We don't require an implementation, right? I'll give you some inputs on that. Then, but you need to do the enough search of it later and all. But before you think of your own startup or maybe tying up with someone else, you need to validate whether that idea is still unique, and then what kind of literature thing you have done some work. But I can help you out in maybe in one of the, after covering these topics today or even later, we can cover up.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, two more comments, Badr.
Yes, Professor, just about the, I can see also point number 7 here about the compliance and stuff.
Yeah.
I think for the medical,
Definitely, regulatory thing is always.
yeah, I think for the medical, it's required some kind of approval or regulations before using any tool, something like that. It's like
Definitely.
FBA, because
Yeah.
like actually I was in a debate with my wife. She's a physician, I'm an
Okay.
engineer. So, I was
Okay.
telling her to use some kind of AI tools in the hospital and stuff like. She was saying we need some approval, some kind of process. Like I was laughing, but she told me something like, I forgot the name. Maybe it's something like SAND, something like that. It's they have they have to be regulated from there and something like that.
Yeah, depending on the country or the region, they do have approvals. But at the same time, I teach a lot of doctors in some other program across the world. I might have interacted with hundreds of doctors, and having my background with Philips Healthcare as well, I'm able to relate to some extent. I'm not a physician myself, but still, after interacting with hundreds of these doctors on 10 different use cases to discuss, we have enough potential, and then some use cases are already getting at an approved level. The good part is, even when I worked in healthcare, when I have a lot of these patents and then tried that innovations, the 3 months of work, even we need to wait for another 6 months, 9 months to get the FDA approval. Those are the days just before the COVID I'm talking about, maybe it's 2017, 18, 10 years ago. But after that, if you see now, FDA itself approved more than 1,000 these AI models in different scenarios. What is giving us the confidence in different regions? Yes, you need to have your own protocol and then what kind of inputs you are trying to capture, but it is possible as we speak now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Welcome.
you.
So one more comment, Vin? Yeah.
Yes, Professor. I just want to clarify one thing. This is the best well, from what I understand is for big companies, they already have the system in place. So even healthcare or banking system or a bank or big corps. So the best approach for if you go in there would be like these steps on the screen. First you identify use case and then
Yeah,
data
I'm going
collection.
there. Yeah, I'm able
Yeah.
to explain that, but mostly you are able to follow what I'm talking
Yes,
about. Yeah.
and then for the number 6, integration with healthcare system, meaning also API with the current system, right?
Yeah, all this EMR, EHR, you have a lot of other systems within the healthcare, right? I'm talking from that angle. So one is maybe you can build the model externally using some data, but if you want to integrate it, they do have their own these healthcare HMS, healthcare management systems, then EHR records are there. So how do you, based on what is the impact you are trying to create, you need to integrate with that.
Yes, thank you. So most of the time, like 99% of the time, you will integrate your own model
Exactly.
into the existing system. You can't just build from scratch and then tell them to like demolish the whole thing and use
Yes.
yours.
Yes. And while you are integrating, definitely you need to address the regulatory aspect because you are becoming responsible for what's going on there, right? Overall, that goes hand in hand. But yes, so that's where I was giving examples when I was working with Philips Healthcare, and there they do have, I think, their presence across all the major countries in the world. The innovations, when we do it, even we file in multiple countries, those intellectual property. The key point is unless we have these approvals right from FDA, we can't push it to the hardware, we can't use it externally, right? So those things, those kind of boundaries are always there.
Thank you.
Then just to anyway, you are already scanning through this while I'm discussing with you people. So this, even though I'm giving the backdrop in the healthcare, but this can be applied in any regulated industry, whether it's a pharma or telecom, any of them. So identify the use case. This you can relate to your ML pipeline, right? So this is at a high level we are talking about. Then we will be able to double click further in terms of how you will be able to take it, what kind of physical structure I can give there as well. Because we are going to discuss further on Gen AI overall architecture, how it looks like, and then everybody, whether it's a core techie or architect or otherwise as well, we want you after 4 or 5 sessions to think through. This is where we are trying to apply the Gen AI, right from use case identification, then data collection, then appropriate generative model. You are saying whether it's an LLM, whether it's a closed source, open source, API based, all that. Then directly that model may not be able to solve it. That's where the fine tuning of it, prompt engineer, RAG that you specify. Then comes your validation and testing. Then, as you already talked about, integrate with these different systems, healthcare management systems. Then we do have these regulatory compliance to make sure whether it is a privacy aspect and security aspect. Then we are trying to do continuous monitoring and improvement. That's where the LLM ops, in future the agent ops. Okay, and towards the end we do have a lot of ethical consideration, transparency. During our MBL, we used to have that management of business law. When we studied that IP, intellectual property, the way it has transformed in the last few years, my personal betting is it is going to change because I can't use GenAI as a patent author, right? It's not allowed. But at the same time, it is becoming difficult to do the infringement check. That means what, with the helpment of all these people, it is easy to spoof the system, right? You are creating a dummy thing. So how do you really prove in the court of law that they have used our structure and come out of? So those kind of challenges are very much possible. And this, even though I'm talking under the healthcare heading, not limited to this. So you already given the comments. Then we will jump to the last part of last 2 slides. Then we have some references, and then what's happening in the next session is what we are going to talk. Okay. So another 10-15 minutes, we'll try to talk and then take a pause, and then we should be able to use the time accordingly. So in case of, I'm not talking entirely on the fintech because that itself is a bigger field per se, but if some of you are coming from telecom or fintech and all, if you want to bounce back these things, we'll wait for that discussion once we finish this. So in case of payments, if you see, there are things which you can see from marketing, sales, product development, and technology. Then we do have onboard customer support as well. Then what about this risk compliance? At different headings, I do have the color coding. If you see whether the cluster is customized marketing, yes, maybe the green one. Then what is the customer service? We do talk about in the beginning. Then where the product development activities are there, where sales and effectiveness are there. So what we are really talking there is take one by one. Let's say marketing and sales, right? So what kind of GenAI application you can think of is in acquisition and conversion of leads. So how can you do the hyper personalized these ads? Then a login page needs to be personalized. It's no more the same set of scheme of things. Then how do we do the customer segmentation? That may come under the risk and compliance, but how do you do the customer segmentation? What is the sales support for large and medium size you are trying to give? So some of those from marketing. Some of you are coming from the background, you can relate. Then similarly in the product development, what kind of code testing, what kind of software and product prototyping, these are becoming important for us. Similarly, onboard and customer support, naturally, all these chatbots are there, proactive churn prevention, they are able to use it. That is also good for us to think from that onboarding point. Then we do have risk monitoring and then reporting KYC applications that also we'll be able to see from including GenAI fraud. Okay, that's what the risk compliance you can see. Then one is monitoring and reporting. So if you see what is the kind of GenAI role here, take example of compliance and compliance monitoring. What will happen is there is a rule, maybe you can think of even agentic application as well. Agentic AI I'm talking about. First you can do definitely this compliance monitoring, but if it is possible, we need to see how you can build the agents as well, because there are certain rules what you need to do is maybe deterministic as well, but at the same time, what are we trying to take the changes dynamically and then report in a regular way. So those are the things which we need to check as well. And towards the end, that is transverse kind of activities where recruiting, HR help desk, all that. When you see these wide variety of applications, you may start wherever the pain points you see from your department if you are coming here. So for this, my recommendation is we'll be able to top up these kind of different applications and then with some kind of prioritization. And then what will be giving you the good application value, those are the things which we'll be able to try to take it here. Across, we are trying to cover a big gamut of applications. There are definitely the things which you can think of as well. I'll take a pause after covering this so that we'll have enough time for open interactions for this particular thing or even beyond as well. So where are we? Yeah, we are here. We covered multiple applications. And then if you see what I'm trying to give in the payment industry, there is a customized, okay, there is a use case cluster. That means a group of use case cluster. Yeah. Then the key use case is what we are talking about. What will be the productivity increase potential chance and how much we are trying to achieve within that. Then what is the easy one? Implementation is easy. And then if you see there, I want to pick something in terms of ease of implementation, something like low hanging fruits, right? Some things like this, risk compliance and all, where it is difficult to implement, there we can take it on priority. Can we take the help of, let's say it is easy to implement, we still have potential gain is more, and then achievable product savings also, we can try to get that, right? But let me help you out in terms of how do you read it. The easiest way is to see the ease of implementation. If it is gray, it is difficult, and if it is completely blue, it is easy to implement. That's what we are trying to get it into. But if you see in terms of other two parameters, what is the range of this productivity increase? Okay, we are seeing around 30% is what we are referring to. But if you see, the potential is maybe still less than that, right? So one is the productivity increase potential, other one is achievable net productivity savings. Those are actual aspects are also there. Okay. So here, when you talk about customer service, take example of customer service. Yes, we do have chatbot assistants during the onboarding, and then able to help these CSR, including the client conversations. When you are really talking at that level, what is happening is, yes, this is the productivity increase potential, and then we are trying to squeeze in this is what the achievable product savings. Okay. Then we do have product development. Yeah, maybe around, again, on average, around 30%, or maybe transfers kind of a thing, not even 20%, but still we'll be able to feel that this is the kind of range and this is what really achievable. And we will choose the cost aspect as well. And then before we get into this in more detailed way. Okay. So what it brings to this, yes, I'm sure you will have questions. We will answer those in terms of, as I promised, we'll try to cover the majority of the topic within the stipulated time. But I requested we will spend another 15 minutes or so to officially wind up. And then after that also, depending on your specific use case, I can still further discuss. So these are the references. And then we do have agenda for the next session as well, where we will focus more on engineering. What is a specific LLM? What kind of trained and what data is really required? How do you choose the right set of models? Some of those aspects we will be able to talk. But before that, yes, some of you raised the hands. Can you please go ahead?
Yes, I'm noticing that these efficiencies that are captured on this slide here are largely, and I appreciate the intention of this slide being to try and calculate the uplift in productivity or the net productivity savings, estimates, so on and so forth. Is this slide like the title of the slide says payments industry, but is this slide specific to payments, or it could more or less apply to any industry that's working on some kind of online tooling? Because the line items seem quite generic, and I would imagine that it would be similar customization around each of these line items for any industry, if that assumption would be correct.
There, the use cases perspective, definitely where I am with you. But only thing that BCG, as in when it is estimating, they are trying to see that industry of it. That's where they're coming. Otherwise, ease of implementation you can take only the 1, 2, 3, third and fourth columns in this, right? What you are seeing, that percentages may vary because they might have done some kind of estimates based on their numbers, which they are coming from payment industry. Otherwise, even here also in those set of top use cases or even the specific of this, I'm not very particular telling only the payments. That's the backdrop for this particular discussion.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Great. So any other questions we have? Good. So then what I will do here is let me summarize before we end the session. I'll summarize and then open for the further things. If I not answered any of the question earlier, I might have told we will answer it later. Any of those things, if you heard of, then just bring it. But before that, while everybody is here, let me summarize what we have and then what kind of actions you can take, right? This is just a summary of the first two sessions. What we are doing, especially in the second half, first we in the beginning of the session we talked about what is Gen AI, then how do we really differentiate with respect to the deep learning, because we are not able to do the specifically these transfer learning. So that's where we use the Tom Foundation, these foundation models and fine tuning. Okay, on top of it, we do have maybe specific requirements for us on how do we build those foundation models. It is not very easy to build. That's where we need to use that foundation models and use these techniques in a way, prompt engineering, then RAG and PEFT, and then go to the retraining. That's what the agreement what we had. We will double click on those further as well. Then we are able to get it into the discussion where we talk about these are the limitations of Gen AI so that you will be able to wisely discuss and deliberate. These are the right set of use cases, knowing the limitations as well. So on top of it, we do have applications which we have presented, and before that we have the investment process as well, just to excite where we are and then how things are changing. Then we went to the applications which are horizontal text versus image versus audio and speech, audio or speech. Then on top of it, we are able to get it into the level where a specific industry, we started talking about e-commerce. Then we went into the edtech. We talked about more details of those. Then we went into these healthcare. Then we talked about multiple dimensions of it, and then we'll be able to discuss some of them after the session. Then the last one is in the payments industry within the fintech, where we talked about multiple departments taking those, and then what kind of information we'll be able to give you at a different use case cluster level, and what kind of these kind of ranges which are seeing reasonable for you to prioritize. So these are the things what we have, especially for today. Then if you have other appointments, feel free to drop off. I'm available for a few more minutes. If you want to bring that use case, healthcare, or any of the things which are which I told, we will discuss further. We are open.
Professor, this is Manny.
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. I'm sure you would attest to this, especially in the healthcare industry. Limitations are not really technology, but limitations are actually the execution, because the healthcare industry are very protected, from the doctors to the administrators. They are very protective about their own industry, and they sometimes feel that AI or whatever that's produced by technology is not really real medicine. So any thoughts around that?
I agree. I agree with your points, because I do have similar scenarios as well as you are talking about. But when you talk this scenario, is there any specific use case coming into mind to ask that particular point, or is it a general question?
It's a general question, but specifically providing access to medicine. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
So specifically, yeah.
Yeah. So what will happen here is it's like a what is the kind of value that Gen AI, because some of the traditional AI methods also you can do it using these. But when we talk about these specifically the medicines, right? So those points, we want to say personalization of the particular use case. And then how are you trying to analyze the specific use case, what we are talking from there? How was the situation earlier? How are we trying to do now, right? So only thing is in this Gen AI, even if you try any of your GPTs and all, the diagnosis or prescription, those and all, we are not supposed to give, right? Even though Gen AI may be capable of, but from a regulatory perspective, you will not be able to give that. Only thing is, and all the things what we talked about the application, they are not on the core part. We are directly going the core part to the doctor only. But still, there are enough kinds which we will be able to address, keeping these things into consideration. So, if that answers your point, or you want to elaborate further, please go ahead.
Sure, thanks. It's just that I have deployed a solution called AI triage.
Yes.
In some countries, and I'm calling it triage. It's more of a using the
prioritization,
AI,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, to educate rather than providing any healthcare advice, but more to educate the population. So that's the route that I've used.
Because you don't require too many regulations there because you are not prescribing. But otherwise, if you are going into the end-to-end use case, definitely you need to do a lot of those things, including the FDA or other GDPR, those kind of licenses.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. So I think one use case you are talking about healthcare, you were still there, I think Manny, or who was talking about it, if you want to extend further.
No, that's it. Yeah, I think I've got my
Your answer?
my question answered. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. So in that case, what I have further in this one, we talked about some of these use cases. Then, yeah, I given some kind of as of now, just to have we have done 2 out of those 15 sessions. Then we are able to understand what is Gen AI, what are its limitations, at least what are the different tool names, what kind of techniques. Then comes actually the how do you really go deep dive into these things in the next few sessions to solve the real problem, right? So that's what we will focus on. And then as some of you asked, okay, I given you some, maybe this is not very much visible, so I need to change the color coding here. So we do have functionality, how we are able to do these transformers, visually explain and all that. So we will be, if not, these are references may not be directly for session 3, but these things some of you are uh, asking, okay, where can we go at a code level or as an extension, I told we will be doing it, trying to do that towards the end, right? So some of these few minutes of extensions can help us as well to reach to that. So otherwise, we are concentrating on these engineering aspects, selecting the models. Those are the things which we are going to do in the next session. I will also update immediately after this session the aspect, and then let me open the forum for if you want to bring any of your other division, because we are able to cover so far what is planned. And then before I start a new topic for this, I can very well strengthen this particular use case. Where is this?
Professor, can I ask a little bit
Yeah.
different question than the thrust of this lecture?
No problem.
We
Go
have
ahead.
been focusing on the operation side of it, which is incredibly useful. But at the same time, given my background, I have been focusing on economics and strategy of AI as well.
Okay, very
for
good.
our clients. Is there anyone in our faculty? I have sent a couple of emails, but I haven't received any responses. Who is able to guide me if I decide to choose a thesis on that?
I may not be the right person. I can give some inputs from my background, but I may not be having the complete background of it because I don't have complete visibility of the faculty list as well because I'm not a full-timer there, right? So I don't have complete visibility of it, but definitely they will be able to provide the other experts. It need not be a full-time faculty. They were asking me as well to guide. I'm not finding time. That's why I'm not committed for those beyond these sessions. But voluntarily, some activities I will do based on you already have a mentor and all that, but you want to bounce back some ideas in a convenient time and all that. That I can. I was trying to do selectively, but I was not committing myself for due to the time constraints. But
If I
I will,
share,
if I have, yeah, if you share anything of your specific questions, whatever is in my purview, from my background of the business law, or maybe from the business management, and maybe from a PhD, whatever I can give, I'll give you my inputs.
I think that would be very, very helpful. LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to
Yeah,
you, or
you just ping me there, and if you need more details to share and all that, I will give you my mail ID as well. The easiest way is to ping there.
Okay, I already pinged you there. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Yeah. So if there are any further open questions, or if you want to pick any of the further use case, because we covered healthcare, we covered retail e-commerce, we covered the discovery. So this is like extra. So as maybe we'll try to wind up in next 10 minutes max. So, but this should give us the confidence in terms of, yes, you are able to get the bigger picture, and then if you are able to digest it, you should be able to think in your own domain what kind of use case. Again, I'm repeating that. Yeah, please go ahead.
Could you explain how it is being used in the chip design process?
Chip design, right? Yeah. So if you see here, Maybe I'm trying to see what is mentioned there, but beyond that also we can go. So in case of chip design or maybe any of these, by the way, before I go into the chip design, just to give you a data point, right? So, and the moment we go to the chip design, what comes to our mind? Maybe Intels of the world or NVIDIA's of the world, right? So there, by the way, NVIDIA as an example, if you take, how many percentage of engineers you are thinking their software? Just a wild guess. In NVIDIA being the top most valuable company, right?
More than 60?
Yeah, it is close to 80% or even more than that. So what does that mean is, even though they are doing the design aspects and all, they are doing some kind of a hardware activity, there is enough of software within that. That gives us a lot of flexibility to think through in terms of what more it comes. That is just a data point I was using. But if you talk about specific examples here in this, for planning to optimize the placement of each component in a semiconductor chip design, what does that mean is, you know how minute they are. Generic kind of models may not be able to reach to that, but with the rich knowledge what we have in the chip design, you have a lot of documents. Why can't you prepare your own SLM? I'm not calling at least some kind of a fine-tuned model for that. That is one way to look at it. Then second thing is efficient time to production, where operational efficiency is taking the center stage. And I'll give you one more example on that. The anomaly detection is very common, so we can use traditional AI as well, not to worry on that part. So, but here, when you see the efficient time to production, what's really happening there is, if you are able to generate different scenarios, because there are a lot of what if scenarios, and then because here you are not talking from a general AI points, we are talking about a specific problem which you are trying to address in terms of what you are trying to improve that operational efficiency, right? So while you are doing that, you have a lot of role the Gen AI can play there, right? So these are the three different dimensions which I can give you from chip design. Beyond that, okay, what you can apply to a typical software, because 80% of activity is there only in those companies, you can definitely do that. Okay. And one more I'll give you as a example. When you are designing these things, there are a lot of libraries which you may be aware of, right? Because you already done the deep learning and all. Not specific to the Gen AI I was talking, whether it is Intel, whether it is AMD, whether it is NVIDIA. Have you heard of TensorRT from NVIDIA or Intel OpenVINO from Intel? Any of these? Yeah.
Both.
So what when you are able to hear, definitely for the others also, what those things are really designed is, you build your model, okay, and you optimized all the things. But if you are able to use their libraries within their TensorRT, within their Intel OpenVINO, they have a lot of libraries like MKLDNN, that is math kernel libraries, or DLDT. So some of these libraries, what is the purpose of it is, yes, your built model is here, the trained model is here. I want to optimize to run in my underlying hardware. So why can't you use our libraries to make best use of it, right? Everybody is talking about the sustainability now. Going forward, it will be much more prominent. My hunch is these hardware and software needs to go hand in hand. There is definitely dominance of the GPU and all, but when we go even within that TensorRT and all, there are enough of those applications which we can make it much more optimal. There's also very good, interesting use case, not directly from Gen AI, but on top of the traditional AI as well.
So I was seeing, I remember it is a Saudi Arabian lab,
okay,
which was developing AI designed aircraft engine or a rocket engine, one of that. And, it was having a different method of fuel injection, and it was getting efficiency. And they were claiming, the engineering company was claiming that within 2 weeks they designed and they could immediately do a 3D printing, and they could test it also, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, we know that the way the Vera Rubin and such kind of racks are consuming the power. It's exorbitant. Like somehow the gut feeling says that somehow the architect started scaling rather than optimizing or creatively looking at alternatives in the architecture. Now, why can't we use the Gen AIs to look at an power optimized architecture? Right.
Definitely. Only thing is some more maybe general GPTs kind of a thing might not have gone there, but you can start with some local GPT as a starting point. How do you really do a lot of context engineering and then relevant information? Definitely possible. Why not?
And even I was thinking that, like, why can't it discover a better backpropagation or BPTT algorithms, right?
Yeah, you can be the next Nobel Prize winner if you are able to change what really happening, right? Otherwise, Jeffrey Hinton jokingly says, "You guys are so lazy in last 50 years, you just change a little bit on the back propagation, but no breakthrough happened there, right?" So that's a good challenge for us to address. If we are able to achieve any breakthrough on that, yeah, it will be a game changer.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, aim high. I'll be happy to see the results what you are getting. If you're stuck somewhere, we'll be sharing my inputs as well.
Yeah, because yesterday when you were saying about the RLAIF, the
reinforcement learning with the AI feedback. Yes.
AI feedback. Now AI is coming into the loop of feedback. Now, why can't we plug in AI in the back propagation?
Definitely. See, and we can think on that, and then what kind of game-changing method, because they are very fundamental, right? If you are replacing it, what are the things which you are trying to do there? So let's have that thought process, put it into the pen paper or maybe a structure, then you will be able to iron out a lot of those things. Yeah. Any other last set of questions?
Generally about the program, Professor, DBA. Is DBA recognized as a kind of a doctoral program?
So that maybe may not be equal to the PhD level, but anyway, you from a business point of it, what you are spending time and effort, right? So in the new age of things, anyway, you are working towards the technology. You can have your doctor title as per the. It may not have been approved in your local UGCs or AICTs in India or similar other ones, but it is these days those are globally recognized, so should not be a problem.
Does the Indian tech industry approve that?
I doubt from a tech industry point of it, but you have your own global title which you can use it, that they can't stop it, but they not be able to consider at a PhD level as we speak now. But these days there are so many people doing it, right? Because not many people might be knowing it earlier. So these are like not very common in India, which is maybe common in Europe and in US. That slowly they are adopting it. It may change. The perception may change. It all brings in terms of what value you are bringing on the table. And only thing the industry is worried about is at least this program is very genuine and you are able to spend your time and all. But there are some programs which people are misusing, right? Without much of those, just 2 years we'll get a degree, this and all. Those are the things which are problem creators. But the structured programs where everything is captured with your work speaks, then you don't require to worry.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, that is just my personal opinion. So I am not representing any of the GGU or UpGrad while I am making those statements. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So I hope we added some value in your learning journey. Just my recommendation to you, most of you are still there. Thanks for staying back. And then what we are trying to do here is just digest what we have talked about in the first two sessions and then think through in terms of in your domain, because you are already domain experts with rich experience of your own field. What kind of activities you are trying to think through? It may be there a lot of things in your brain, but don't just stuck there, right? You put it into your notebook or notepad, anything, whatever is there. That laundry list is very important for you. Whether you do it immediately or whether you do it later, that's a different thing. You will be able to validate yourself while you are going to the rest of the 10, 12 sessions remaining, you will be able to see with your experience of solving some problem. Yeah, maybe this use case is maybe metal, or what kind of things you can take it to the next level of discussions. So that will be the fruitful activity which you can start. You may not be completing it based on whatever the knowledge you have, and you can refine it further. So with that, I'll take a pause here, and then we'll see you next week. And I'll talk about the assignment and all that as well. We'll publish it this week itself, and then I'll try to discuss for maybe in the beginning, or in we will decide at least for 10-15 minutes. Right.
Question: do you have any control over whether the transcript is included as well?
Which transcripts?
So there's the PPT, then there's the video, the recording of this session, and then there's a transcript of the session.
Transcript, yeah, maybe that program office will take it. I don't have control. Whatever those backend things, just check with your program coordinator. Whatever I have control is only the PPT what I have, and I'll update. And then so many people are recording as well, right? So those things the program coordinator can help you out. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Keep up the enthusiasm, and then I'm sure we collectively solve interesting problems as we go forward and understand the technology a little more deeper.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank you. Good night.
Very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Let me stop the session as well.